As the energy entered his body, Ningyu's broken bones began to heal slowly. Not only were his bones healing, but Ningyu also discovered that his divine war body was showing signs of a breakthrough. Isn't the god of war body only able to advance by devouring blood? Ningyu was puzzled, but on second thought, Ningyu felt relieved. Ninglu was the world tree. Ao Xing was the true dragon. The energy they were transferring to him must be extremely precious. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. In this half an hour, Ningyu's bones had completely healed, and his cultivation had advanced from early-stage First-Order Quasi-Emperor to mid-stage First-Order Quasi-Emperor. Even his divine war body had advanced to the second transformation of the god of war. Furthermore, it was not the early-stage second transformation of the god of war, but the peak second transformation of the god of war. My god of war! Ningyu immediately cursed after he used his perception to check the condition of his body. He had initially thought that the second transformation of the god of war would only increase his strength slightly compared to the first transformation of the god of war. But now, Ningyu knew that he was wrong, extremely wrong. The first transformation of the god of war was more like the initial stage of the divine war body. Previously, when he used the great Tao of devouring and the first transformation of the god of war, his strength could only slightly match a peak first-order quasi-emperor. But now, he could fight against an early-stage first-order quasi-emperor with just the second transformation of the god of war. If he could restore the great Tao of devouring to its peak, he could even easily fight against a mid-stage first-order quasi-emperor, or even kill one. A few minutes after Ningyu had recovered, Ning Lu and Ao Xing finally withdrew their palms and let out a long sigh. The trip to the quasi-emperor mystic realm. The relationship between Ao Xing and Ningyu became closer. At the beginning, Ao Xing might have used Ningyu as a springboard, hoping that Ningyu would help him leave. After experiencing so many things, Ao Xing's thoughts gradually changed. In the last 100,000 years, Ningyu might be his first friend. Ao Xing shook his head to get rid of these thoughts, then said to Ningyu, "Those mid-level quasi-emperors have already left. Why don't we go back and plunder all the emperor's spiritual liquid?" "Ha! That's exactly what I was thinking." Ningyu laughed loudly. Then his figure flickered and returned to the pond of emperor spiritual liquid. When he returned to the pond, Ningyu was dumbfounded. At this time, there was no emperor spiritual liquid in the pond. The pond was as empty as a field with nothing at all. No, it should be said that there was a small whirlpool at the bottom of the pond. The small whirlpool spun continuously, and every once in a while, a drop of emperor spiritual liquid would appear. Below the small whirlpool, there was a small groove, and based on preliminary estimates, there were 100 drops of emperor spiritual liquid in the groove. High-grade emperor spiritual liquid. Ningyu's eyes lit up. The emperor spiritual liquid in the pond was a low-grade emperor spiritual liquid, and the emperor spiritual liquid in the formation was a mid-grade emperor spiritual liquid. The great emperor spiritual liquid in front of him was a genuine high-grade, great emperor spiritual liquid. Although it took a few minutes to produce one drop, each drop of great emperor's spiritual liquid had endless effects. Whoosh! Ningyu opened the red demon sword and released Lin Lang. "What's the cultivation of your old ancestor at?" Ningyu asked. How many drops of this emperor's spiritual liquid can help him recover to his peak state? Until now, Ningyu did not know what rank the old ancestor of the Holy Ming Empire was at. The emperor's spiritual liquid was a good thing. Before giving Lin Lang the emperor's spiritual liquid, he needed to understand the situation. At his peak, the old ancestor was a rank 9 quasi-emperor. Lin Lang stared at the emperor's spiritual liquid in the groove below the whirlpool, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and answered, "Now that the old ancestor's cultivation has fallen to the rank 6 quasi-emperor realm, he urgently needs the emperor's spiritual liquid to recover." Rank 6 quasi-emperor. Ningyu frowned slightly. According to the classification, a rank 6 quasi-emperor was a mid-grade quasi-emperor. 100 drops of emperor spiritual liquid could not help a mid-grade quasi-emperor recover to the rank 9 quasi-emperor realm. Lin Lang seemed to see through Ning Yu's doubts, and he said again, "The old ancestor has prepared a lot of divine medicine. If there are 100 drops of emperor spiritual liquid, coupled with those divine medicines, the old ancestor has an 80% chance of recovering to his peak state." Hearing this, Ning Yu rolled his eyes. If he had 100 drops of emperor spiritual liquid, he could at least advance to the rank 3 quasi-emperor and even have a chance of breaking through to the rank 4 quasi-emperor realm. I know this might put you in a difficult position, but I can guarantee that the old ancestor will not let you suffer any losses. Lin Lang said hurriedly, afraid that Ning Yu would not give him the emperor's spiritual liquid. Chapter 25:19. Blood flood the world. Blood sky battle monarch bellowed as several crimson rays shot out from his body. These crimson rays were endless. Although each of them had the strength of a rank 2 quasi-emperor, even a rank 3 quasi-emperor might not be able to withstand so many of them. Blood Sky Battle Monarch did not believe that an early rank 1 quasi-emperor like Ning Yu could withstand so many crimson rays. Chi! Ning Yu could not withstand the attacks of the crimson rays, but Ao Xing was different. At this time, Ao Xing had completed 1/5 of the fusion with his body. 1/5 of the fusion allowed Ao Xing's strength to soar to peak rank 2 quasi-emperor. A peak rank 2 quasi-emperor naturally had no problem against the crimson rays that were only at the level of an early rank 2 quasi-emperor. Furthermore, Ao Xing was a true dragon, so his body was extremely powerful. An ordinary rank 3 quasi-emperor would find it hard to withstand so many crimson rays due to their bodies being far weaker than Ao Xing's. Damn it! Blood Sky Battle Monarch trembled with anger when he saw Ao Xing easily scatter the crimson rays. Miscalculation. What a miscalculation. No matter how much he calculated, he didn't consider the variable Ao Xing retreat. Blood Sky Battle Monarch glared at Ning Yu and Ao Xing, then leaped into the air and fled into the distance. Swish! 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 As soon as Blood Sky Battle Monarch left, Mu Tuo, Mu Yun, and Mu Hai hurried over. The three of them had spent a lot of time and energy to deal with the middle-aged man who was a rank 5 quasi-emperor. After killing the middle-aged man, Mu Hai and the rest quickly caught up. After him, Mu Hai glanced at Ao Xing, then turned around and chased after Blood Sky Battle Monarch. Blood Sky Battle Monarch's clone had to be left behind no matter what. They had guarded the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm for so long, so they could not let Blood Sky Battle Monarch take advantage of this. As long as they could capture Blood Sky Battle Monarch's clone, they could use a secret technique to locate Blood Sky Battle Monarch. Blood Sky Battle Monarch was always a threat in the 100 Forest domain. If they found Blood Sky Battle Monarch, they might not be able to kill him, but they could still chase him away. Whoosh! After Mu Hai and the others left, Ao Xing immediately flew to Ning Yu's side. Taking a deep breath, he placed his right hand on Ning Yu's back. Not only Ao Xing, Ning Lu also jumped to Ning Yu's side and placed his right hand on Ning Yu's shoulder. Chi. Subsequently, endless energy was transferred from Ao Xing and Ning Lu's palms to Ning Yu's body. Ka. As the energy entered his body, Ning Yu's broken bones began to heal slowly. Not only were his bones healed, but Ning Yu also discovered that his divine war body was showing signs of a breakthrough. Isn't the god of war body only able to advance by devouring blood? Ning Yu was puzzled, but on second thought, Ning Yu felt relieved. Ning Lu was the world tree. Ao Xing was the true dragon. The energy they were transferring to him must be extremely precious. Drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. In this half an hour, Ning Yu's bones had completely healed, and his cultivation had advanced from early stage First-Order Quasi-Emperor to mid-stage First-Order Quasi-Emperor. Even his divine war body had advanced to the second transformation of the god of war. Furthermore, it was not the early stage second transformation of the god of war, but the peak second transformation of the god of war. My god of war, Ningyu immediately cursed after he used his perception to check the condition of his body. He had initially thought that the second transformation of the god of war would only increase his strength slightly compared to the first transformation of the god of war. But now, Ningyu knew that he was wrong, extremely wrong. The first transformation of the god of war was more like the initial stage of the divine war body. Previously, when he used the great Tao of devouring and the first transformation of the god of war, his strength could only slightly match a peak first-order quasi-emperor. But now, he could fight against an early-stage first-order quasi-emperor with just the second transformation of the god of war. If he could restore the great Tao of devouring to its peak, he could even easily fight against a mid-stage first-order quasi-emperor, or even kill one. Phew! A few minutes after Ningyu had recovered, Ning Lu and Ao Xing retracted their palms and let out a long sigh. The trip to the quasi-emperor mystic realm. Ao Xing and Ning Yu's relationship became closer. At the beginning, Ao Xing might have used Ning Yu as a springboard, hoping that Ning Yu would help him leave. After experiencing so many things, Ao Xing's thoughts gradually changed. In 100,000 years, Ning Yu might be his first friend. Ao Xing shook his head to get rid of these thoughts, then said to Ning Yu, "Those mid-stage quasi-emperors have already left. Why don't we return and plunder all the emperor's spiritual liquid?" "Ha ha, that's what I was thinking." Ning Yu laughed loudly. Then his figure flickered and returned to the pond. When he returned to the pond, Ning Yu was completely dumbfounded. At this time, there was no emperor's spiritual liquid in the pond. The pond was as empty as a field with nothing at all. No, it should be said that at the bottom of the pond, there was a small whirlpool. The small whirlpool spun continuously, and every once in a while, a drop of emperor's spiritual liquid would appear. Below the small whirlpool, there was a small groove, and based on preliminary estimates, there were 100 drops of emperor's spiritual liquid in the groove. High-grade emperor spiritual liquid. Ning Yu's eyes lit up. The emperor's spiritual liquid in the pond was low-grade emperor's spiritual liquid, and the emperor's spiritual liquid in the formation was mid-grade emperor's spiritual liquid. Now, the emperor's spiritual liquid in front of him was a genuine high-grade emperor's spiritual liquid, although it took a few minutes to produce one drop. Each drop of great emperor's spiritual liquid had endless effects. Whoosh! Ning Yu opened the red demon sword, and Lin Lang was released. "What's the cultivation of your old ancestor?" Ning Yu asked. How many drops of this emperor's spiritual liquid can help him recover to his peak state? Until now, Ning Yu did not know what rank the old ancestor of the Holy Ming Empire was. The emperor's spiritual liquid was good stuff. Before giving Lin Lang the emperor's spiritual liquid, he needed to understand the situation. At his peak, the old ancestor was a rank 9 quasi-emperor. Lin Lang's eyes stared at the emperor's spiritual liquid in the groove below the whirlpool, and he swallowed a mouthful of saliva before answering. Now that the old ancestor's cultivation has fallen to the rank 6 quasi-emperor realm, he urgently needs the emperor's spiritual liquid to recover. Rank 6 quasi-emperor. Ning Yu frowned slightly. According to the classification, a rank 6 quasi-emperor was a mid-level quasi-emperor. 100 drops of emperor's spiritual liquid could not help a mid-level quasi-emperor recover to the rank 9 quasi-emperor realm. Lin Lang seemed to see through Ning Yu's doubts, and he said again, "The old ancestor has prepared a lot of divine herbs. If there are 100 drops of emperor's spiritual liquid, and with those divine herbs, the old ancestor has an 80% chance of recovering to his peak state." Hearing this, Ning Yu rolled his eyes. If he had 100 drops of emperor's spiritual liquid, he could at least advance to the rank 3 quasi-emperor realm, and even have a chance of breaking through to the rank 4 quasi-emperor realm. I know this might put you in a difficult position, but I can guarantee that the old ancestor will not let you suffer any losses. Chapter 25-20. Ning Yu pondered for a moment, then said, "How about this? I'll go with you to the Shengming Empire after we leave the quasi-emperor mysterious realm. I'll consider giving the great emperor's spiritual liquid to your ancestor after we meet." To be honest, Ning Yu trusted Lin Lang very much. After all, from Broken Cliff City to the Immortal Court, then to the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm. Lin Lang hadn't done anything to harm him. Moreover, Lin Lang had helped him quite a bit. Under such circumstances, Ning Yu would not be stingy with his great emperor's spiritual liquid. However, although Ning Yu believed in Lin Lang, he did not believe in the Holy Ming Empire's old ancestor. What if the ancestor of the Holy Ming Empire was not a good person? After pondering for a moment, Ning Yu made a rough judgment in his heart. The great emperor's spiritual liquid had to be handed to the great ancestor of the Holy Ming Empire by him, and not through Lin Lang's hands. As for how he would negotiate with the old ancestor of the Holy Ming Empire, that was his business. He could not make things difficult for Lin Lang. Thank you. Lin Lang cupped his fists at Ning Yu and said, I thank you on behalf of the ancestor. Whoosh! With a flick of his wrist, Ning Yu took out a drop of high-grade Emperor's spiritual liquid. I'll let you consume this drop of great Emperor's spiritual liquid. Strive to raise your cultivation to the peak Immortal King realm, and try to break through to the Dao Domain realm. Lin Lang's current cultivation had not even reached the peak of the Immortal King realm. With his strength, even if he returned to the Holy Ming Empire, he would not attract the attention of the old ancestor. Ning Yu did not believe that an old ancestor who was a rank 9 quasi-emperor at his peak would have a whole new level of respect for Lin Lang. After all, Lin Lang's talent was not considered too strong. The other geniuses of the Holy Ming Empire, like Lin Tai and Lin Xian, were all stronger than Lin Lang. If a drop of high-grade Great Monarch spiritual liquid could help Lin Lang reach the peak Immortal King realm or the Dao Domain realm, it would be worth it. All right, Lin Lang knew that Ning Yu meant well. Moreover, among the many princes of the Holy Ming Empire, his talent was indeed not very good. Although he was the crown prince, his position as the crown prince was not stable. Chi-chi. Lin Lang opened his mouth and directly swallowed the great monarch's spiritual liquid. The great emperor's spiritual liquid entered his stomach. Lin Lang hurriedly activated his spell and began to devour. Drip, drip. As time passed, Lin Lang's aura began to rapidly increase. The high-grade, great monarch spiritual liquid was indeed extraordinary. Half an hour later, boom, when a terrifying aura arose from Lin Lang, it meant that Lin Lang's cultivation had already attained the peak of the Immortal King realm, and he was only a step away from the Dao Domain realm. Keep it up. Ning Yu threw another drop of great monarch spiritual liquid to Lin Lang. Lin Lang didn't say anything more. He swallowed the monarch's spiritual liquid and began to refine it. While Lin Lang was refining the emperor's spiritual liquid, Ning Yu thought for a moment and took out a few more drops of emperor's spiritual liquid for the people inside the Red Demon Sword. Water Moon Fairy, his parents, the Dark Emperor. These people had not even reached the Immortal King realm. The heavenly demons were attacking the Immortal Court. If they had not reached the Immortal King realm, they might not even have the ability to protect themselves in the future. 10 drops. Ning Yu took out 10 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid for the Water Moon Fairy and the Dark Emperor to use. Good stuff. Ning Yu had just thrown the Emperor's spiritual liquid into the Red Demon Sword when the Dark Emperor leaped out of the Red Demon Sword. Apart from the Dark Emperor, even the Red Demon transformed into his human form. Great Monarch spiritual liquid, especially the high-grade Great Monarch spiritual liquid. It was very attractive to the Dark Emperor and the Red Demon. Ning Yu, give me a few dozen drops. The Dark Emperor shouted as soon as he came out. A few dozen drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid can reconstruct my body and complete my transformation. I only need 10 drops. The Red Demon didn't demand as much as the Dark Emperor. He said, 10 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid can upgrade the Red Demon Sword to the Emperor rank. Ning Yu rolled his eyes. Do you think Emperor's spiritual liquid is cabbage? You want 10 drops? He wants dozens of drops. After all, he had promised Lin Lang that he would keep 100 drops of Great Monarch spiritual liquid. Wouldn't it be awkward if he couldn't take it out when the time came? Boom! Just when Ning Yu was having a headache, a terrifying aura emanated from Lin Lang's body. Dao Domain Realm. After refining 2 drops of Emperor Spirit liquid in succession, Lin Lang's cultivation broke through to the Dao domain realm. Moreover, there was still a lot of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid left in Lin Lang's body. If he could completely refine the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid in his body, he might be able to break through to the Dao Advent realm or even the Heaven Receiving realm. After advancing to the Dao domain realm, Lin Lang looked at the expectant Dark Emperor and Red Fiend. He gritted his teeth and said, "The Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm is extremely dangerous. Consume the Great Emperor Spirit liquid first and try your best to raise your strength. Otherwise, it will be a problem if you can't leave with just the Great Emperor Spirit liquid." How about this? Although Ningyu wanted to keep the Great Monarch's spiritual liquid, it didn't belong to him. Ao Xing and Ning Lu had put in a lot of effort. Not giving them the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid was unacceptable. At the very most, Ningyu wanted to keep his share. After leaving the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm, he would find a way to go to the Shengming Empire and give the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid to the old ancestor of the Shengming Empire. However, Ningyu was just about to speak when he was surprised to find that the small whirlpool suddenly became bigger. Then, a large amount of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid surged out of the whirlpool. Gulp! Seeing so much Great Emperor's spiritual liquid, Ningyu couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. How much was there? Preliminary estimation, there were at least 1,000 drops of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid surging out. Rumble. However, just as Ningyu was about to collect the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid, the ground began to shake violently. This is bad. The Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm is going to be closed. Ao Xing's expression changed, and he said hurriedly, "Everyone, leave quickly. If you're late, you might be trapped in the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm forever." "I'm leaving." Hearing that, Ningyu's expression also changed drastically. Trapped in the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm forever? He didn't want to be trapped here either. Therefore, Ningyu directly stored the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid in the groove into the Red Devil Sword, then grabbed Lin Lang and fled into the distance. "Come with me." Ao Xing's performance was still considered calm. After all, he had been trapped in the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm for 100,000 years and was more familiar with the situation inside. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The next moment, Ao Xing led the way, while Ningyu and Ning Lu followed behind. As for the Dark Emperor and Lin Lang, they entered the Red Devil Sword. They were very weak and would most likely be a burden if they stayed behind. Placing them in the Red Devil Sword could not only increase Ningyu's speed, but it could also protect them. Roar! Ningyu and Ao Xing traveled at full speed for about half an hour before they were forced to stop. There was no other reason. In front of them, a giant demonic beast blocked their way. The demonic beast was huge, with a giant golden horn on its head and a very short tail. Short-tailed giant horn beast. Chapter 25-21. What the F***CK? Seeing so many cold lights, Ningyu couldn't help but curse. He did not expect that the short-tailed giant horn beast could still erupt with such terrifying combat power at this level. Even if he advanced to peak rank 1 Quasi-Emperor, he would definitely not be able to withstand so many cold lights. Could it be that the short-tailed giant horn beast cultivation was higher than early rank 3 Quasi-Emperor? Thinking of this, Ningyu hurriedly deployed his perception to detect the short-tailed giant horn beast. Run! Ningyu's mind was in a mess when he saw it. When he first saw the short-tailed giant horn beast, Ningyu was almost certain that the short-tailed giant horn beast was early rank 3 Quasi-Emperor. But now, the short-tailed giant horn beast cultivation had soared to peak rank 3 Quasi-Emperor. How could they fight? Putting aside the question of whether or not he could win, the question he had to consider now was whether or not he could escape. Enter the Red Fiend Sword. Ningyu grabbed Ning Lu and Ao Xing and threw them into the Red Fiend Sword. Then, he increased his speed to the limit and sped toward the exit of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm, according to Ao Xing's instructions. As they ran, Ningyu asked, "Ao Xing, do you know what's going on?" Why is the short-tailed giant horned beast a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor now, from early rank 3 quasi-emperor? The boundary we are in is an extremely special boundary of the quasi-emperor's secret realm, called the Disordered Zone. A.O. Xing explained, I don't know much about the Disordered Zone. I only know that the demonic beasts in the Disordered Zone have 2 states. 2 states? Ningyu asked. That's right. One is the weakened state, and the other is the peak state. The short-tailed, giant-horned beast we encountered might have been in the weakened state at the beginning, which was early rank 3 quasi-emperor. But later, it directly became the peak state. A.O. Xing nodded and said in a low voice, How much longer until we reach the exit? Ningyu did not dwell on this and asked directly. The most important thing now was not how the short-tailed giant-horned beast became the peak state, but when they could reach the exit and leave the quasi-emperor's secret realm. 3 hours, A.O. Xing said. Holy sh**t, Ningyu almost cursed. 3 hours? The short-tailed, giant-horned beast behind him was getting closer and closer. How could he delay it for 3 hours? There's another way. A.O. Xing pondered deeply for a moment, and then he said, Ning Lu and I will lend you our energy, and you'll kill the short-tail, giant-horned beast. I'm afraid this method won't work. Ningyu looked back at the short-tailed, giant-horned beast and said, Even if my body can withstand that much energy, the short-tailed, giant-horned beast behind us is getting closer and closer. It won't give me the chance. How would we know if we don't try? His voice fell. The energy in A.O. Xing's body surged out and was transferred from the Red Devil Sword to Ningyu's body. Chi-Chi. Ning Lu also transferred his energy into Ningyu's body. Bang! Almost in an instant, the energy in Ningyu's body had reached a critical point. His cultivation had advanced from late-stage, first-level quasi-emperor to peak first-level quasi-emperor. Ningyu was a little dumbfounded. He originally thought that Ning Lu and A.O. Xing were only giving him energy, but he did not expect that Ning Lu and A.O. Xing were giving him origin energy. Once origin energy was depleted too much, it would be very damaging to one's body. To put it simply, if Ningyu's body was filled with ordinary energy, then his aura would soar, but it would fall back later. Origin energy was different. Origin energy could make his cultivation soar. It would not fall back later. In other words, Ningyu's current cultivation had already reached the peak of rank 1 quasi-emperor. Furthermore, it was still growing stronger. Stop! Ningyu knew that if he did this, A.O. Xing and Ning Lu would very likely suffer serious injuries, so he immediately shouted. Bang! Just as Ningyu shouted, a muffled sound suddenly came from his body. This dull sound signified that his cultivation had advanced to the early second rank quasi-emperor realm. Kill! After advancing to second stage quasi-emperor, Ningyu already had the ability to seal his body. He immediately sealed his body, cut off the connection between him and the Red Fiend Sword, and turned to fight with the short-tailed, giant-horned beast. At this time, Ningyu already had enough confidence to fight with the short-tailed, giant-horned beast. Although the short-tailed, giant-horned beast was a peak third-level quasi-emperor, he had advanced to early-stage, second-level quasi-emperor, and the Great Tao of Devouring had also devoured the last 30 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid. His ranking soared to 270. This ranking of the Great Tao of Devouring already had enough terrifying power. It attacked the short-tailed, giant-horned beast from the side, restraining it for Ningyu and buying some time for Ningyu. While the short-tailed, giant-horned beast was restrained, Ningyu immediately injected energy into the Red Fiend Sword without any hesitation and slashed out with a backhand. Whoosh! In a split second, a waist-thick sword light separated from the Red Fiend Sword. This sword light blasted straight at the short-tailed, giant-horned beast. Roar! The short-tailed, giant-horned beast seemed to sense danger. It raised its head and roared angrily, then turned around and fled. It fled? Ningyu was slightly taken aback. No matter how powerful his sword light was, it could not possibly kill the short-tailed, giant-horned beast. At most, it could severely injure it. The short-tailed giant horned beast was a peak third-level quasi-emperor. How could it be so timid? But very soon, Ningyu knew what had happened. The short-tailed giant horned beast was not afraid of him, nor was it afraid of the great Tao of devouring, but the three figures that suddenly appeared in the void. Mu Tuo, Mu Yun, and Mu Hai. Among them, Mu Tuo and Mu Yun were peak fourth-level quasi-emperors, while Mu Hai was a fifth-level quasi-emperor. Their sudden appearance scared the short-tailed, giant-horned beast out of its wits, and it hurriedly fled into the distance. However, it was as difficult as ascending to heaven for the short-tailed, giant-horned beast to escape from the three of them. Mu Hai flicked his finger. In a split second, a cold light shot out and struck the short-tailed, giant-horned beast's head. In an instant, the short-tailed, giant-horned beast was killed, and it fell straight to the ground. Swish! Mu Hai's right hand grabbed at the void, and a force pulled the short-tailed, giant-horned beast back. Mu Hai threw the short-tailed, giant-horned beast to Ningyu and said, "Give it to A.O. Xing, and let him recover as soon as possible. There's one more thing for him to do." "Let him do it." Ningyu was slightly stunned. From the sound of it, it seemed that Mu Hai knew A.O. Xing. Although he was puzzled, Ningyu did not dare to quarrel with Mu Hai. He opened the red fiend sword, and A.O. Xing scurried out from within. As for Ning Lu, Ningyu did not let him out. Who knew if Mu Hai and the others could see Ning Lu's true form? Ning Lu staying within the red fiend sword was a more reliable method. However, Mu Hai seemed to know Ning Lu. He waved his hand and said to Ningyu, "Let him come out with that world tree. We have nothing against him. On the contrary, there's a good thing waiting for him. In addition, I will help him refine the world tree in his body and strive to break through to the third-level quasi-emperor realm as soon as possible." Chapter 25-22. Something good. Ningyu frowned slightly. He had not expected that Mu Hai already knew Ning Lu's true identity. If it was a blessing, it wasn't a curse. If it was a curse, it couldn't be avoided. After all, given Mu Hai's abilities, if he really wanted to harm them, he could easily snatch away the red demon's sword and force Ning Lu out. Since he didn't do that, it meant that he didn't have any ill intentions towards them. Furthermore, Mu Hai was a rank 5 quasi-emperor. No one could stop him if he wanted to do something. "Come out." Ningyu took a deep breath and unsheathed the red demon's sword. Whoosh! Ning Lu's figure flickered, and he scuttled out of the red devil's sword. "Good, very good, very good." The moment he saw Ning Lu, Mu Hai revealed a look of wild joy. On the other side, Mu Tuo and Mu Yun were also very happy. Blood Sky Battle Emperor's doppelganger. Take it and refine it. Mu Hai flipped his wrist and threw Blood Sky Battle Emperor to Ning Lu. Looking at the Blood Sky Battle Emperor clone in front of him, Ning Lu was a little confused. What the hell was Mu Hai doing? If others knew that he was the world tree, they would definitely try their best to refine him. Mu Hai, on the other hand, not only did they not refine him, but they even gave him a clone of the Sky Blood Battle Monarch for him to refine. How strange. No. Suddenly, Ning Lu seemed to think of something, and his expression changed slightly. Could it be that Mu Hai thought he was too weak and wanted to devour him after he became a little stronger? The more he thought about it, the more Ning Lu felt that it was possible. After all, he had given his origin energy to Ningyu, so his cultivation had dropped to a freezing point. Mu Hai was a rank 5 quasi-emperor. Swallowing him should not have much effect. Don't think too much. Mu Hai seemed to have guessed what Ning Lu was thinking. He said with a dark expression, "When you leave the quasi-emperor mystic realm, there will naturally be someone to receive you and tell you some secrets." "All right." Ning Lu nodded and squatted down. He placed his palm on the Blood Sky Battle Emperor's clone and began to devour it. Chi-chi. While Ning Lu was devouring Blood Sky Battle Emperor's clone, A.O. Xing was devouring the short-tailed, giant-horned beast's corpse. Time passed by quickly. Boom! Half an hour later, a terrifying aura burst out from A.O. Xing's body and soared into the sky. Peak second-rank quasi-emperor. After swallowing the short-tailed, giant-horned beast, A.O. Xing's cultivation broke through to the peak of the second-rank quasi-emperor realm. Boom! Another half an hour passed. The same aura soared into the sky. Ning Lu's cultivation was the same as Ao Xing's, reaching peak rank 2 quasi-emperor realm. Ning Yu was slightly embarrassed. Whether it was Ao Xing or Ning Lu, their cultivations were always slightly higher than his. He was an early rank 2 quasi-emperor, while Ning Lu and Ao Xing were peak rank 2 quasi-emperors. Shaking his head, Ning Yu temporarily threw these things to the back of his mind. On the other hand, Ning Lu and Ao Xingqiang were also beneficial to him. Let's go. Let's leave the quasi-emperor's secret realm. It was only after Ning Lu and Ao Xing had finished devouring that Mu Hai said, "I will escort you to the exit of the quasi-emperor mystic realm." As he spoke, Mu Hai's hands tore open the void and tunneled in. Swoosh! Mu Hai tore through the void while Mu Tuo and Mu Yun darted into the distance. Ning Yu and Ao Xing exchanged a glance, then tunneled into the void, following closely behind Mu Hai. Mu Hai was a rank 5 quasi-emperor. In other words, it should be Mu Hai's clone that was a rank 5 quasi-emperor. On the surface, the 100 Forest Domain had a total of 4 great emperors: Mu Tuo, Mu Yun, Mu Hai, and Mu Shan. Among them, Mu Shan guarded the core of the 100 Forest Domain, while Mu Hai and the rest remained in the quasi-emperor mystic realm, as if they had something to do. Of course, Ning Yu was well aware that he had no way of knowing these things for the time being. If he couldn't reach that level, there was no point in knowing. Crack! After advancing at full speed for roughly half an hour, Ning Yu and the rest stopped in front of an enchantment. Mu Hai's hands lengthened, directly tearing a gap in the enchantment, saying, "You guys go out first. In about 3 days' time, there will naturally be people from the Holy Mountain coming to find you. At that time, the people from the Holy Mountain will tell you everything. Go." Ning Yu did not have any hesitation. He, Ao Xing, and Ning Lu directly tunneled into the gap, disappearing from Mu Hai's vision. "Sigh, I hope I can help the 100 Forest Domain." Mu Hai sighed softly. Then, he turned his head and disappeared as well. Whoosh! After leaving the quasi-emperor mystic realm, Ning Yu let out a long sigh. During this trip to the quasi-emperor mystic realm, their gains could be said to be extremely great. He directly advanced from the Immortal King realm to the early rank 2 quasi-emperor. Ning Lu also became a peak rank 2 quasi-emperor. Even Lin Lang and the Dark Emperor's strength had a qualitative leap. Moreover, they also obtained a large amount of Emperor's spiritual liquid. Ning Yu took a preliminary look and discovered that there should currently be about 1,100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid left in the Red Demon's sword. This amount of Emperor's spiritual liquid was completely enough for him to cultivate to the middle rank quasi-emperor realm. Where now? Ning Lu looked around and discovered that they were in a forest. So he asked, "Do we go to the Sage Ming Empire or find a place to rest and recuperate?" First, find a place. Ning Yu thought for a while and felt that it was not too appropriate to go to the Sage Ming Empire now. Recuperating first was the right choice. Rustle, rustle, rustle. However, before Ning Yu's voice faded, his expression changed, and then he revealed a look of joy. There was no other reason. In the distance, a few figures appeared in their vision. Yang Yuming, Imo, Xiao Duanya. These people were Yang Yuming and the others who had separated from Ning Yu at the cloud-soaring mountain range. Ning Yu did not expect that they would still be able to come out alive. Moreover, from the looks of it, their cultivation had all made a huge breakthrough. Yang Yuming and Imo Xiao had reached the late Immortal King realm, while Xiao Duanya had advanced to the peak Immortal King realm. My God, my God! When Imo Xiao saw Ning Yu, he was completely dumbfounded. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and almost cursed. In the quasi-emperor mystic realm, he had obtained a great opportunity and advanced to the late Immortal King realm. He had originally thought that after leaving the quasi-emperor mystic realm, he would be able to contend with Ning Yu and escape from Ning Yu's control. However, from the looks of it now, he realized that he had thought too much. Ning Yu's cultivation was at least a first-tier quasi-emperor. This was because the aura that Ningyu gave off was even stronger than those old ancestors he had seen in the Dragon War Empire. The Dragon War Empire also had quasi-emperors. Moreover, there were middle-tier quasi-emperors and a few high-level quasi-emperors. The pressure that Ningyu gave him had already exceeded the scope of a first-tier quasi-emperor. "It's good that you're back." Ningyu patted Yang Yuming's shoulder heavily, then gave Yang Yuming a drop of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid. As for Xiao Duanya, he also received a drop. Great Emperor's spiritual liquid? Emo Zhao's eyes widened, and he looked at Ningyu with anticipation. He also wanted the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid. This was because a drop of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid was completely enough for him to advance to the peak Immortal King realm. At this time, Emo Xiao already had a faint idea in his mind. Perhaps following Ningyu and submitting to Ningyu was a good choice. One had to know that even in the Dragon War Empire, Great Emperor's spiritual liquid was also a good thing. At the very least, as a prince, he temporarily did not have the right to receive Great Emperor's spiritual liquid. Ningyu directly took out 2 drops and gave it to Yang Yuming and Xiao Duanya. Didn't this mean that Ningyu had many drops of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid? This book came from Chapter 25-23. Ningyu glanced at Emo Xiao, not intending to give him the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid. Cell phone terminum. His relationship with Emo Xiao wasn't that good. Furthermore, Emo Xiao was a scheming person who always wanted to escape from his control. Even if Ningyu were to throw away the Great Monarch's spiritual liquid, he would not give it to him. Seeing that Ningyu ignored him, Emo Xiao became very disappointed. He had no choice but to watch as Yang Yuming and Xiao Duanya devour the Emperor's spiritual liquid. Boom! Boom! As Yang Yuming was at the peak of the late-stage Immortal King realm, and Xiao Duanya was at the peak of the late-stage Immortal King realm, the two of them only used 10 minutes to raise their cultivation by 1 level. Yang Yuming rose to peak Immortal King, while Xiao Duanya advanced to the Dao Domain realm, equal to Lin Lang. Thank you. After their cultivation had increased, Yang Yuming and Xiao Duanya cupped their fists at Ningyu at the same time. Now, both of them were very grateful to Ningyu. If it weren't for Ningyu, it would have been more difficult for them to improve their cultivation in a short period of time. After all, they didn't have any Great Emperor's spiritual liquid. There's no need to thank me. Ningyu waved his hand and said, "Let's go to the Divine Wind Empire first and help you fight for the position of Crown Prince." Originally, Ningyu wanted to find a place to recuperate for a while. After he had recovered to his peak state in all aspects, he would think about going to the Sage Ming Empire or somewhere else. But now that he had met Yang Yuming, he naturally had to go to the Divine Wind Empire first. All right, words cannot express my gratitude for such a great favor. Yang Yuming understood this logic. He nodded his head as he spoke. We can take a spatial teleportation array from the soaring sky Immortal Empire. This way, we can reach the capital city of the Divine Wind Empire, the Divine Wind City, earlier. Although Ningyu and the others had advanced to the Quasi-Emperor realm, they were not weak at all. However, if he wanted to fly to the Divine Wind Empire, he would need to fly for at least 10 days. Teleportation arrays were different. Using the teleportation array, it would take at most 1 or 2 days to reach the Divine Wind City. Ningyu and the others were not indecisive people. They left without hesitation. They first went to the teleportation pavilion of the Endless Sky Immortal Empire and used a special teleportation array. After spending a day and a half, they finally arrived at the teleportation pavilion of the Divine Wind City. The Divine Wind City's teleportation pavilion was extremely large, so large that it was terrifying. Fifth Prince, Ningyu and the others had just arrived at the Divine Wind City when there were 3 or 4 black-robed martial artists waiting outside the transmission pavilion. Obviously, these black-clothed martial artists were obviously waiting for Yang Yuming. Ningyu skimmed through it. He discovered that the cultivation of these martial artists in black were all at the late stage of Immortal King realm. The sudden appearance of 3 to 4 late-stage Immortal King powerhouses really surprised Ningyu. After all, he was very clearly aware that every single advanced stage Immortal King was the backbone of the competition for the position of Crown Prince. Back then in the teleportation pavilion of the Endless Sky Immortal Empire, Ningyu domineeringly killed several late-stage Immortal Kings from the Dragon War Empire and Divine Wind Empire, causing Mo Chong and Yang Xiaoshu to turn pale. This is not the place to talk. Yang Yiming's face turned cold as he said in a deep voice, "Let's return to the Ninth Prince's palace first." As the Fifth Prince of the Divine Wind Empire, Yang Yiming had his own businesses and forces in the Divine Wind City. The Emperor of the Divine Wind Empire had said that peak-stage Immortal King powerhouses wouldn't participate in the competition for the Crown Prince position and could only let the princes find their own way. Now, his strongest helpers in the Divine Wind City, advanced-stage Immortal King powerhouses, had all appeared to welcome him. There must be a reason for this abnormality. Yang Yiming knew this, so his first thought was to return to the Ninth Prince's palace to see what was going on. Sha. However, before Yang Yiming could move, four advanced-stage Immortal King powerhouses blocked his way. "Fifth Prince, you'd better behave yourself and come with us to the Ninth Prince's palace." A advanced-stage Immortal King powerhouse in green stretched out his hand to stop Yang Yiming and said indifferently, "The Ninth Prince has already accepted your force. As long as you submit to him, he will give you what you want and ensure that you won't die." "Ninth brother?" Yang Yiming's face turned very ugly. Among the princes of the Divine Wind Empire, the eldest Prince Yang Xiaoshu, the fourth Prince Yang Chong, the ninth Prince Yang Shui, and the 13th Prince Yang Qinghao were all difficult opponents. However, the eldest Prince Yang Xiaoshu had already been killed, so his force would naturally be divided among the other princes. The remaining 4th Prince, 9th Prince, and 13th Prince were the best contenders for the Crown Prince position this time. "I've always treated you well. Why did you betray me?" Yang Yiming didn't immediately answer if he would go to the Ninth Prince's palace. Instead, he looked at the cultivator in green and said indifferently, "In the competition for the Crown Prince position, if you change your supporter at the last minute, I'm afraid your outcome will be very miserable." "Hee, a wise man submits to circumstances." The cultivator in green smiled faintly and said, "Perhaps the 5th Prince doesn't know, but the Emperor personally issued an oral order 3 days ago, allowing quasi-Emperor powerhouses to compete for the Crown Prince position. The many princes of the Divine Wind Empire all have supporters. The 4th Prince, 9th Prince, and 13th Prince all have the support of several quasi-emperors. As for you, so far, you only have the support of one quasi-emperor. If you were me, what would you choose?" Yang Yiming finally understood. If a quasi-emperor was involved, then it was understandable that the cultivator in green would change his side at the last minute. After all, there was only one quasi-emperor supporting him, and it was a rank 1 quasi-emperor. The 4th Prince, 9th Prince, and 13th Prince all had the support of many quasi-emperors in the Divine Wind Empire. Furthermore, their mother also had a quasi-emperor supporting her. Under such circumstances, he would naturally become the prince with the least competition. "That's right, 5th Prince, I have something to remind you of." The cultivator in green continued, "Your residence is no longer called the 5th Prince's Palace, but the 18th Prince's Palace." "The 18th Prince's Palace?" Yang Yiming was slightly taken aback. The 18th Prince's name was Yang Zhaokai, and he was Yang Xiaoshu's younger brother. He had the same father and mother as Yang Xiaoshu. Unlike the other princes who had different mothers, Yang Xiaoshu died tragically, but his younger brother, Yang Zhaokai, still had support from others. One could imagine. It must be that the forces on Yang Xiaoshu's mother's side were not satisfied and wanted to support Yang Zhaokai again. "Let's go to the 5th Prince's palace first." Yang Yiming took a deep breath, and his figure flashed as he fled into the distance. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The expressions of the cultivator in green and the others changed, and they immediately tried to stop Yang Yiming. However, Yang Yiming flicked his finger, and 4 beams of cold light easily knocked the 4 cultivators back several meters, causing them to fall heavily onto the ground. PFFF. Blood spurted out of their mouths. The auras of the cultivator in green and the others instantly dropped to the bottom. As for Yang Yumming and the others, they quickly left and soon disappeared from their sight. Damn it, when did the fifth prince become so strong? The cultivator in green cursed in his heart. Then he dragged his heavy steps toward the ninth prince's palace. He had to quickly go back and tell the ninth prince that the fifth prince was a difficult opponent. At the same time, the people hiding in the air all left. Some went to inform the fourth prince, and some went to inform the 13th prince. Some even secretly entered the imperial palace of the Divine Wind Empire. This book came from Chapter 25-24, Divine Wind Empire. Please search the 5th Prince's residence. No, it should be called the 18th Prince's residence. Several cultivators gathered in a martial proclamation hall. A young man in his 20s sat at the head of the hall. The young man was none other than Yang Zhaoshu's younger brother, the 18th Prince, Yang Zhaokai. If Yang Yumming were here, he would have noticed that Yang Zhaokai's eyes were bright and full of spirit, completely different from his previous timid appearance. Furthermore, Yang Zhaokai's cultivation had reached the terrifying late-stage Immortal King. One had to know. Previously, Yang Zhaoshu's cultivation was only a 5th-stage half-step Immortal King. The fact that Yang Zhaokai could advance to the late-stage Immortal King was enough to show that his mother's forces had played a great role. At this moment, Yang Zhaokai crushed the voice transmission crystal ball in his hand and looked around the hall. Fifth brother has returned, and his cultivation seems to have reached the peak of Immortal King. Everyone who is willing to stop him for me. Swoosh! As soon as Yang Zhaokai's voice fell, the hall instantly fell silent. Most of the people in the hall were Yang Yumming's people. Because Yang Yumming was trapped in the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm, coupled with the large number of experts sent by Yang Zhaokai's mother, these people were forced to submit to Yang Zhaokai. Now that they heard that Yang Yumming had returned and his cultivation had reached the peak of Immortal King, how could they not have some strange thoughts? Dong dong dong. However, all of this was seen by Yang Zhaokai. Yang Zhaokai stretched out his right hand and gently knocked on the seat under him. If you want to leave, I won't stop you, but you only have one chance. If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Hearing Yang Zhaokai's words, several cultivators in the hall wanted to leave. After all, they had submitted to Yang Zhaokai because they thought that Yang Yumming had died tragically. Now that Yang Yumming had returned, they naturally wanted to submit to Yang Yumming again. However, how could Yang Zhaokai let them leave? The hearts of these martial artists, who had these strange thoughts, were all pierced at the same time. Buzz buzz. Then, a second-stage Quasi-Emperor appeared beside Yang Zhaokai. In the second-stage Quasi-Emperor's hand was a first-stage Quasi-Emperor. The first-stage Quasi-Emperor was Yang Yumming's supporter, Sun Luan. The second-stage Quasi-Emperor was an expert on Yang Yumming's mother's side. Ha ha! 18th Prince, now that the 5th Prince has returned, you should think about how to explain this to him. Although he was being grabbed by Zhao Feng, Sun Luan still raised his head and laughed wildly. Oomph! Zhao Feng snorted and threw Sun Luan aside. He said coldly, "Do you think I dare not kill you? The reason why I'm keeping you alive is because I want that trash, Yang Yumming, to watch you get killed. I'll go out and take Yang Yumming down right now and let you..." Impudent! Before Zhao Feng finished his words, Yang Zhaokai said coldly, "Yang Yumming is my 5th brother. It's not your place to say anything." You. Zhao Feng shifted his gaze and glared at Yang Zhaokai. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he had no choice but to shut up. This was the Divine Wind Empire. Even though the power behind him was also very huge, it was still somewhat lacking compared to the Divine Wind Empire. In order to control the Divine Wind Empire through Yang Zhaokai, Zhao Feng could only endure. Gotcha! Meanwhile, at the main entrance of the prince's palace, Yang Yumming clenched his right fist and punched a hole in the sealed door. How dare you intrude into the 18th prince's palace? The door was blasted open and 4 or 5 early-stage celestial kings rushed out of the courtyard. Fifth prince? These early-stage celestial kings were dumbfounded when they saw Yang Yumming. Previously, when Yang Yuming was said to be trapped in the secret realm of the Quasi-Emperor, they thought that Yang Yuming had died tragically. Who would have thought they actually saw Yang Yuming again? But soon, the expressions of these early-stage celestial kings changed drastically. They were all Yang Yuming's people before. Now that they had surrendered to Yang Zhaokai and Yang Yuming had returned, what should they choose? Should they continue to surrender to Yang Zhaokai or Yang Yuming? Wang Shui, you're going to stop me. Yang Yuming stared at the early-stage celestial king and said, considering that you've done so many things for me, if you leave now, I can spare your life. The eyes of the early-stage immortal king martial artist called Wang Shui kept changing, as if he was having an intense mental struggle. After a while, Wang Shui gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, Fifth Prince, I'm willing to surrender to you. There's no need. Either scram or die. Yang Yuming said coldly. Yang Yuming was definitely not willing to trust a person like Wang Shui again. If he could betray once, he could betray twice, thrice, or even 4 times. If he chose to betray at a critical moment, wouldn't he be finished? Therefore, even if Wang Shui did not continue to surrender to Yang Zhaokai, Yang Yuming would never trust him again. All right, Wang Shui obviously knew what Yang Yuming was thinking. He gritted his teeth and turned to leave. Seeing Wang Shui leave, the other early-stage celestial kings looked at each other and finally left with Wang Shui. Puff, puff. Just as Wang Shui and the others left, an expert appeared in front of them. This expert was extremely ruthless and directly killed Wang Shui and the others. Clap. After killing Wang Shui and the others, the expert clapped his hands and walked towards Yang Yuming step by step. As he walked, he said, Not bad. I didn't expect that not only did you not die in the secret realm of the Quasi-Emperor, but your cultivation actually improved so much. You've advanced to the peak of the Celestial King realm. Very good. Tai Wang Hao. Yang Yuming's expression changed slightly. He knew this expert. He was an expert from Yang Zhaoshu's mother's side. A Dao Domain realm expert, Tai Wang Hao. A long time ago, he had seen Tai Wang Hao at a banquet and was even mocked by Tai Wang Hao at that time. He did not expect to meet Tai Wang Hao here again. It was really the case of enemies meeting, and their eyes were exceptionally red. How about this? I'll stand here and let you punch me 3 times for free. If you can make me move an inch, I'll let you go. Tai Wang Hao crossed his arms in front of his chest and said lightly, As for your idea of entering the 18th prince's residence, I advise you to dispel it as soon as possible. After all, the 18th prince is not as easy to talk to as I am. If he gets angry, it might be very difficult for me. You. Yang Yuming clenched his fists tightly, his body trembling. He was only a peak celestial king, while Tai Wang Hao was a peak Dao Domain realm expert. Even if he was given 30 punches, he would not be able to make Tai Wang Hao move an inch, let alone 3 punches. There's no need for 3 punches. At this time, Ningyu took a step forward slightly, patted Yang Yuming's shoulder, and said calmly, To deal with this kind of trash, 1 punch is enough. Swoosh! Yang Yuming glanced at Ningyu gratefully, and then said to Tai Wang Hao, My friend is right. 1 punch is enough to defeat you. The reason why Yang Yuming had this confidence was that when Ningyu patted his shoulder, he quietly injected a terrifying force into his body. Ningyu was a rank 2 Quasi-Emperor. Forget about a domain realm. Even a heaven-receiving realm expert would find it hard to resist a force like that. This book came from the Chapter 25. Haha. Tai Wang Hao seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He first threw his head back and laughed wildly. Then his expression changed, and he said coldly, I've seen arrogant people, but I've never seen someone as arrogant as you. I want to see how you're going to defeat me with 1 punch today. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Tai Wang Hao took a step forward, his eyes fixed on Yang Yuming. We'll know who's arrogant after we try. Yang Yuming had long wanted to teach Tai Wang Hao a lesson. However, he was not Tai Wang Hao's match, so he could only give up. Now that Ningyu had given him confidence, he naturally had to make a strong move. Swoosh! Yang Yuming circulated his spell and transferred the force in his body to his fist. Then, he suddenly dashed out and rushed at Tai Wong Hao. Tai Wong Hao was rather honest. He thought that he was much stronger than Yang Yuming, so he did not make any moves to block. He only set up a small energy barrier in front of him. Tai Wong Hao's thinking was very simple. With Yang Yuming's strength, even if he stood still, he could not break his energy barrier. Crack! However, while his ideal was great, the reality was harsh. When a cracking sound was heard, Tai Wong Hao's entire body was sent flying and fell heavily to the ground. Puffed. Blood spurted out his mouth. Tai Wong Hao's peak Dao domain aura instantly dropped to the freezing point. Tai Wong Hao crawled up from the ground with difficulty and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He stared at Yang Yuming with a look of disbelief. Miscalculation. A huge miscalculation. He did not expect Yang Yuming to be so powerful. A peak immortal king could actually force him, a peak Dao domain expert, back with one punch and make him vomit blood. This kind of situation was something that he could never have imagined before. One had to know, when he killed the peak immortal king before, he only used 10% of his strength at most. Ever since he advanced to the peak Dao domain realm, there had not been a peak immortal king who could defeat him with one punch. What about you? I've said it before, trash like you can't stop me. Yang Yuming said indifferently. I'll kill you. Tai Wong Hao was enraged. This was in front of the 18th prince's residence. While he was talking to Yang Yuming, many onlookers had already gathered around to watch the show. He had shamelessly asked Yang Yuming to attack, but in the end, he had been easily defeated by Yang Yuming. This had already been witnessed by everyone. If he couldn't regain his face, then in the future, it would be difficult for him to do anything in the Divine Wind Empire, and he would become the object of ridicule. So, no matter what, he had to heavily injure Yang Yuming or even kill him today. Ka ka ka. His figure flashed. All the energy in Tai Wong Hao's body surged out and gathered on his fist. This time, Tai Wong Hao didn't just stand there and let Yang Yuming attack him. Instead, he took the initiative to attack. He wanted to teach Yang Yuming a lesson. Gotcha. However, Tai Wong Hao had still underestimated Yang Yuming. No, it should be called underestimating Ningyu. The force that Ningyu transferred to Yang Yuming could not only be used once. Yang Yuming had only expended 1% of his strength in that attack, just now. Now that Tai Wong Hao overestimated his strength and wanted to fight with Yang Yuming naturally wouldn't hold back. Kill. This time, Yang Yuming used 9% of his strength. The terrifying force bounced around Yang Yuming's fist and collided with Tai Wong Hao's fist. When the two fists collided, Yang Yuming's fist was unharmed. In contrast, Tai Wong Hao's fist was broken and his face was pale. One hit was successful. Yang Yuming punched out again. This time, Yang Yuming aimed for Tai Wong Hao's heart, intending to kill him with one punch. Humph! However, just as Yang Yuming's fist was about to hit Tai Wong Hao's heart, a cold snort suddenly sounded from inside the prince's residence. Immediately after, a shadow swept out from inside the prince's residence and charged straight at Yang Yuming. Second-rank quasi-emperor. Seeing this shadow rush out, Ningyu frowned slightly and immediately rose from the ground. What Yang Yuming really wanted to deal with were cultivators below the heaven-receiving realm. As for a quasi-emperor, Ningyu would definitely help him block them. Bang! Without a doubt, Ningyu's fist collided with the second-rank quasi-emperor's fist. This move, Ningyu only used 10% of his strength. Even if it was only 10%, it would be difficult for a second-rank quasi-emperor to withstand it, and his body was sent flying back into the prince's residence. Poochie! While Ningyu had just repelled a second-rank quasi-emperor, Yang Yuming had already used up half of his strength to kill Tai Wong Hao. Killing Tai Wong Hao, Yang Yuming casually lifted him up and threw him into the prince's residence. Whoosh! Yang Yuming's action completely infuriated the experts in the prince's residence. In an instant, several figures dashed out from the prince's residence and surrounded Yang Yuming and Ningyu. Impudent! At this time, Yang Zhaokai snorted coldly and a deep voice sounded out. Invite fifth brother. Whoosh. Yang Zhaokai's voice played a big role. The cultivators surrounding Yang Yuming and the rest dispersed and opened up a path. Yang Yuming stood on the spot, hesitating to move forward. Let's go. Ningyu knew what Yang Yuming was worried about. He walked forward and patted Yang Yuming's shoulder, saying indifferently, "We cultivators should dare to compete and take back what originally belongs to us." Yang Yuming nodded his head heavily and walked towards the martial proclamation hall. Aoxing, Ning Lu, watch my eyes and act later. Although Ningyu did not look worried, he was more or less worried. In the prince's residence, he sensed at least 3 mid-level quasi-emperor auras. A mid-level quasi-emperor with a 4th to 6th rank quasi-emperor. After advancing to 2nd rank quasi-emperor, Ningyu believed that he could fight against a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor and even kill one. However, if he really met a 4th rank quasi-emperor, he would not even have the ability to resist. In other words, a 4th rank quasi-emperor, even if an early 4th rank quasi-emperor wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. There was no other reason. A 4th rank quasi-emperor was considered a mid-level quasi-emperor and was far stronger than a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor. Don't worry, Ning Lu and I are getting stronger every minute and second. Aoxing transmitted his voice to Ningyu. Aoxing was merging his body and refining the short-tailed, giant-horned beast. Ning Lu was refining the Blood Sky Battle Emperor's clone. The strength of the two of them was really increasing with every passing minute and every second. If they were given a period of time, Ningyu would probably not be their match. With the two of them following, Ningyu is also much more confident. Why is the third prince of the Dragon War Empire, Emo Xiao, with Yang Yuming and the rest? At the same time, inside the martial proclamation hall, Yang Zhaokai frowned slightly, feeling slightly surprised. He did not deliberately pay attention to it earlier, but now he discovered Emo Xiao. Emo Xiao was the third prince of the Dragon War Empire and had a token personally issued by the Emperor of the Dragon War Empire. That token could be said to be a death exemption token. Chapter 25-26. Swish. While Yang Zhaokai was thinking, Yang Yuming and Ningyu had already arrived at the Martial Proclamation Hall. Yang Yuming did not enter the Martial Proclamation Hall directly, but stood where he was, his eyes fixed on the rank 1 quasi-emperor in the center of the hall. Sun Luan. The rank 1 quasi-emperor was none other than the only quasi-emperor who supported Yang Yuming, Sun Luan. Crack, crack, crack. Yang Yuming clenched his fists tightly when he saw Sun Luan. Fifth brother, why don't you come in? Yang Zhaokai sat at the head of the hall and looked at Yang Yuming. Let us brothers have a good gathering today. Let him go. Yang Yuming took a deep breath and said coldly, "This is between us and has nothing to do with Sun Luan. I hope you can let him go." Hope? Ha ha ha, are you begging me? Yang Zhaokai suddenly laughed. Come, try begging me again. As long as you beg me one more time, I will let Sun Luan go. Don't push your luck. Yang Yuming's expression turned ugly. It was obvious that he had been holding it in. Humph. Yang Zhaokai suddenly stood up from his seat and went to Sun Luan's side. He lifted his right foot and stomped on Sun Luan's chest. Crack! The sound of ribs breaking rang out. Yang Zhaokai's kick directly broke several of Sun Luan's ribs in his chest. Ah! A hysterical scream came from Sun Luan's mouth. Fifth prince, leave quickly. If you don't leave, before Sun Luan could finish his sentence. Yang Zhaokai stomped down again. Sun Luan, who already had his ribs broken, fainted on the spot. Bang! Yang Zhaokai kicked Sun Luan toward Yang Yuming and said, "Since you're here, don't leave. My brother needs a companion." Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura came from a void. Rank 3 Quasi-Emperor. This aura came from an early rank 3 Quasi-Emperor. The aura of a rank 3 Quasi-Emperor caused Yang Yuming's face to turn pale. Fortunately, Ningyu had helped him block most of the aura. Otherwise, the aura of a rank 3 Quasi-Emperor would have been enough to kill him. When the rank 3 Quasi-Emperor hidden in the void saw that Ningyu was actually able to withstand the pressure of his aura, he could not help but feel somewhat astonished. You should know, in his opinion, Ningyu's cultivation was only at the peak Immortal King realm. After all, Ningyu had concealed his aura. He could not tell that Ningyu was a rank 2 quasi-emperor. A martial artist at the peak of the Celestial King stage was actually able to resist the pressure of his aura. This indeed made him look at him in a new light. As for A.O. Xing, Ning Lu, and the others, this rank 3 quasi-emperor did not even look at them. Interesting. The corners of the rank 3 quasi-emperor's lips curled up slightly, but he immediately went into hiding. With Ningyu backing him up, Yang Yuming walked straight into the hall and came to Sun Luan's side. Chi-Chi. He placed his palm on Sun Luan's chest and continuously injected energy into Sun Luan's body, starting to treat Sun Luan. When a cultivator reached the quasi-emperor realm, their ribs could heal on their own. However, there seemed to be a terrifying energy in Sun Luan's body, constantly preventing him from healing. Don't waste your energy. Let's negotiate a condition. As long as you kneel down and kowtow out to me a few times, I will let Sun Luan off and let you treat him. The corners of Yang Zhaokai's mouth curled up. He looked at Yang Yuming and said indifferently, Sun Luan's bones are very tough. He still refuses to submit to me, saying that he wants to wait for you to return. Haha, what a joke. Trash like you. Even if you return, what can you do? Do you think you can overturn the heavens? Yang Yuming did not care about Yang Zhaokai's threat. His gaze shifted to Ningyu, revealing a pleading expression. Ningyu understood and released his perception, quietly entering Sun Luan's body and starting to inspect. Gasp! Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air when he saw the results of the inspection. Sun Luan's injuries were not as simple as they seemed on the surface. His ribs were broken, and even his internal organs had suffered a great impact. Ningyu really admired Sun Luan. He was actually able to persist until now after suffering such heavy injuries. It had to be said that Sun Luan was a person with great perseverance. His future achievements would not be low. I'm fine. After inspecting Sun Luan's injuries, Ningyu nodded at Yang Yuming and said, Leave it to me. As they spoke, Ningyu took out a drop of Emperor's spiritual liquid from the red demon's sword, and with a flick of his wrist, injected it into Sun Luan's body. Chi. The effect of the Emperor's spiritual liquid was extremely powerful. Sun Luan's internal organs and broken ribs were healing at an extremely terrifying speed. In just a few short seconds, Chun Xiaobei's eyes widened. All the bones in Sun Luan's body were completely reconnected. Even his injuries were completely healed, and he was back to his peak state. The Emperor's spiritual liquid was not only useful for immortal kings, but it was even more useful for emperors. In other words, the Emperor's spiritual liquid would only be effective in the hands of quasi-emperors. After all, quasi-emperors could refine the Emperor's spiritual liquid, but immortal kings could only slowly refine it. How was this possible? Yang Zhaokai's eyes widened, his face filled with disbelief. He knew better than anyone how serious Sun Luan's injuries were. Ordinary liquids could not heal him at all. The drop of liquid that Ningyu took out was actually so effective. Yang Zhaokai did not think about the Emperor's spiritual liquid. Because the quasi-emperors sent by the Divine Wind Empire had all died in the quasi-emperor's secret realm, and they did not get a single drop of Emperor's spiritual liquid. According to the intelligence, Yang Yuming and the others did not go to the core area of the quasi-emperor's secret realm. They only wandered around the outer area. There was no Emperor's spiritual liquid in the outer area, so Yang Zhaokai did not think about the Emperor's spiritual liquid. There's nothing that's impossible. Yang Yuming said coldly, 18th brother, you have occupied my residence. If you leave now, I can let bygones be bygones. Let bygones be bygones? Yang Zhaokai seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He laughed wildly. Ha! 5th brother, it seems that you think you are invincible after advancing to the peak Immortal King realm. How about this? I will give you a chance. If you can defeat me, I will leave immediately. Defeat you? Yang Yuming glanced at Yang Zhaokai and frowned slightly. In Yang Yuming's view, Yang Zhaokai's cultivation was only at the late stage Immortal King realm. However, for some reason, Yang Yiming felt that Yang Zhaokai was different from before. Previously, Yang Zhaokai looked very dull and timid, and he was afraid of losing his hands and feet. But now, Yang Zhaokai was swift and decisive, and his personality was completely different. 18th Prince. Next to him, Zhao Feng said in a low voice, I advise you not to be impulsive. If you ruin the plan, you will not be able to bear the consequences. How dare you? Yang Zhaokai glanced coldly at Zhao Feng and said, Mother sent you here to guide me, not to criticize me. If you dare to disrespect me again, then don't blame me for using my authority to kill you by force. You. Zhao Feng's expression was extremely cold. However, he took a deep breath and forced himself to endure. Chapter 25-27. Umph. Zhao Feng snorted coldly and glared at Yang Zhaokai. Then, he retreated to the side and stopped talking. On the phone, Yang Zhaokai's disrespectful words made Zhao Feng gradually lose his patience. If Yang Zhaokai was not still useful, he would have taught Yang Zhaokai a lesson long ago. Why would he be so timid now? Ignoring Zhao Feng's actions, Yang Zhaokai looked at Yang Yiming and continued, I'll say it again. If you can spar with me, as long as you can defeat me, I'll immediately take everyone away and return the prince's residence to you. But if you lose, speaking up to this point, Yang Zhaokai paused for a moment before continuing, I only have one request. Submit to me, follow me from now on, and follow my lead. 5th Prince, you can't. Seeing that Yang Yiming wanted to agree to Yang Zhaokai, Sun Lun hurriedly said, 18th Prince is powerful. Even Tai Wanghao is not his match. When Yang Yiming killed Tai Wanghao, he was trapped in the martial proclamation hall and did not see it. However, Sun Lun was very clear about Yang Zhaokai's strength. Tai Wanghao and Yang Zhaokai had sparred before. Tai Wanghao, who was at the peak Dao Domain realm, could not even break Yang Zhaokai's defense. Under such circumstances, how could Yang Yiming be Yang Zhaokai's match? It doesn't matter. Yang Yiming waved his hand and said, Since 18th brother wants to spar with me, then I will spar with him. Ha, great! Yang Zhaokai laughed loudly and said, Unrelated people, please leave the martial proclamation hall. I want to spar with 5th brother. Swoosh! Yang Zhaokai's voice fell. Many cultivators in the hall walked out one after another. Yang Zhaokai looked back at Zhao Feng and looked outside the hall. His meaning was self-evident. Fine, you win. Zhao Feng's eyes were cold. He left behind some harsh words and then directly left the hall. After a while, only Yang Zhaokai, Yang Yiming, Ning Yu, and Ao Xing were left in the hall. 5th brother, you don't trust me? Yang Zhaokai glanced at Ning Yu and Ao Xing and said indifferently, I can swear that we are just sparring. I won't do anything else. Hee. Yang Yiming was not a fool. He smiled and glanced at the sky out of the corner of his eye. Yang Yiming knew better than anyone else. On the surface, Yang Zhao seemed to be very magnanimous, but in fact, that was not the case. There was no one in the martial proclamation hall, but there were a few quasi-emperors in the void. Yang Yiming's trump cards were Ning Yu, Ao Xing, and the others. Once Ning Yu and the others left, and Yang Zhaokai sent the quasi-emperors in the void, what should he do? Therefore, Yang Yiming would never let Ning Yu and the others leave. All right, since 5th brother doesn't trust me, I can't do anything about it. Yang Zhaokai shrugged his shoulders and said, Let's make this clear first. This is a spar. Don't overdo it. No one is allowed to kill. The word hand fell. Yang Zhaokai abruptly slammed his hands on the chair beneath him, and his body abruptly sprang out. Chi-chi. Yang Zhaokai's speed was very fast. In almost an instant, he arrived in front of Yang Yiming. His right hand clenched into a fist, bringing with it a violent gale of energy. He ruthlessly punched towards Yang Yiming's chest. Bang! At this critical moment, Yang Yiming hurriedly mobilized the strength in his body and unavoidably collided with Yang Zhaokai's fist. The two fists collided. Yang Yiming flew out in a straight line until his body hit the wall. Only then did he stop. On the other hand, Yang Zhaokai stood where he was, as if nothing had happened. Obviously, in this short exchange, Yang Zhaokai had the absolute advantage. The cultivation of the late stage of the immortal king. There's an extremely terrifying force in his body. Through the short exchange between Yang Zhaokai and Yang Yiming, Ningyu roughly determined some things. Yang Yiming's body had the strength that he had left behind, and so did Yang Zhaokai's body. Even the strength in Yang Zhaokai's body was even more terrifying than the one he had left in Yang Yiming's body. In terms of pure strength, Yang Yiming was definitely not Yang Zhaokai's opponent. Fifth brother, that was just a warm-up. Yang Zhaokai rubbed his slightly swollen fist. Then his figure flashed and rushed out again. Just as Yang Zhaokai had said, the first strike was just a warm-up. For the second attack, Yang Zhaokai mobilized all the strength in his body, wanting to defeat Yang Yiming with one punch. Damn it! Yang Yiming cursed in his heart, and also mobilized all the strength that Ningyu had left in his body, and collided with Yang Zhaokai's fist. Chi. This move, Yang Yiming's ending was not much better than before. His body flew out, and once again crashed into the wall. Puchi. Dark red blood spurted out. Yang Yiming's aura instantly dropped from the peak of the Immortal King to the early stage of the Immortal King. Furthermore, his aura continued to drop. Fifth brother, help me get rid of the control. I can pretend to admit defeat. Just when Ningyu and the others thought that Yang Zhaokai would definitely win, Yang Zhaokai suddenly said to Yang Yiming through his soul. Yang Yiming's expression changed. He was a little confused. Under normal circumstances, he would definitely lose. But what the hell did Yang Zhaokai mean to help him get rid of the control? Yang Yiming didn't understand. After my brother died, my mother's forces chose me again, wanted me to be a puppet and fight for the position of the crown prince of the Divine Wind Empire for them. Yang Zhaokai explained, You should know better than me what happens to puppets. Puppet? What do you want me to do? Yang Yiming's mind moved, and he asked calmly. Your task is very simple. That is to defeat me, and then use me as a threat to force those hidden quasi-emperor experts to appear. At that time, I know what to do. Seeing that Yang Yiming was about to agree, Yang Zhaokai's face lit up, and he hurriedly said, In fact, Yang Zhaokai had been waiting for this day for a long time. He and Yang Zhaoshu, strictly speaking, were both puppets. The real Yang Zhaoshu, Yang Zhaokai, from the moment he was born, was killed by the forces on his mother's side. Therefore, there was no need for a life-and-death battle between him and Yang Yiming. Yang Yiming did not immediately answer Yang Zhaokai, but shifted his gaze to Ningyu, asking for Ningyu's opinion. To tell the truth, after listening to Yang Yiming's explanation, even Ningyu was a little confused. Melodramatic plot. He did not expect to encounter such a melodramatic plot in the Divine Wind Empire. However, if what Yang Zhaokai said was true, that he was a puppet, then he and Yang Yiming really did not need to fight to the death. He thought about it. Ningyu said to Yang Yiming, Agree to him first, and lure out the few quasi-emperors in the void. There were at least 3 powerful middle-stage quasi-emperors hidden in the void. Before figuring out which side those middle-stage quasi-emperors were on, it was a good choice to pretend to be a snake with Yang Zhaokai for the time being. Hearing Ningyu's reply, Yang Yiming took a deep breath, clenched his right fist, and rushed out again. Seeing Yang Yiming rushing towards him, Yang Zhaokai was overjoyed. He hurriedly revealed an opening, and Yang Yiming's fist smashed into his chest, and his body fell heavily to the ground. Yang Yiming was also very sensible. After defeating Yang Zhaokai, he grabbed Yang Zhaokai's neck and said coldly, Trash is trash, and still dare to occupy my residence. Today I will kill you. While speaking, Yang Yiming clenched his right fist and ruthlessly punched Yang Zhaokai's head. This book came from Chapter 25-28. You dare to kill me. Seeing that Yang Yiming's fist was about to land on his head, Yang Zhaokai's face revealed a look of fear and shouted, Royal Father said that princes cannot kill each other. If you dare to kill me, you will definitely be punished by Royal Father. Hee hee. This is my residence. If I kill you, who will know? Yang Yiming smiled slightly, and then his right fist brought along a violent energy wind and fiercely punched towards Yang Zhaokai. This punch, Yang Yiming used 100% of his strength. Acting, of course he had to act more realistically. Even, Yang Yiming did not have any intention of holding back. As long as the Quasi-Emperor expert in the void did not make a move, then Yang Zhaokai would definitely die today. Swoosh! However, Yang Yiming's plan failed. Just as his fist was about to hit Yang Zhaokai, a cold light suddenly flew out from the void. The target of the cold light was his heart. In a moment of desperation, Yang Yiming directly threw Yang Zhaokai to Ningyu, and he himself slightly leaned to the side, dodging the attack of the cold light. The cold light was only to dissuade Yang Yiming, not to kill him. After all, Yang Yiming was also a prince of the Divine Wind Empire, and killing him in the Divine Wind City was definitely not a wise choice. Bang! Ningyu was also very cooperative with Yang Zhaokai. He kicked Yang Zhaokai and kicked him to Yang Yiming's feet. Yang Yiming took the opportunity to raise his right foot and stepped on Yang Zhaokai's heart and said coldly, "I knew you did not have any good intentions. Let those people in the void come out. If they don't come out, I will kill you. Don't be impulsive." Yang Zhaokai endured the pain all over his body, gritted his teeth, and said, "There is no life and death enmity between us. Moreover," not waiting for Yang Zhaokai to finish speaking, Yang Yiming kicked him again, causing him to spit out a large mouthful of dark red blood. "Stop talking nonsense with me. My patience is limited." Yang Zhaokai released his soul power, paying close attention to the changes in his surroundings. As long as there was another person in the void, he would not hesitate to kill Yang Zhaokai. Just now, the reason why he was ambushed was partly because he was careless, and partly because he was pretending. This was because Ningyu had warned him the moment the Quasi-Emperor in the void launched a sneak attack on him. "Come out!" Yang Zhaokai gritted his teeth tightly and said fiercely, "I want to see what tricks fifth brother wants to play today." Voila! The void trembled. Then, four martial artists appeared out of thin air. Hiss! Even though Yang Yiming was prepared, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when he felt the terrifying aura emanating from these four warriors. 2 early Third Order Quasi-Emperors and 2 early Fourth Order Quasi-Emperors. With this force, it was already in the bag for Yang Zhaokai to fight for the position of Crown Prince. As expected, there's a problem. After these 4 Quasi-Emperors came out, Ningyu's gaze was fixed on them. Ningyu discovered the 2 early 4th rank Quasi-Emperors were standing in a rather special position. It seemed like they were not from the same faction. As for the 2 early rank 3 Quasi-Emperors, they were more straightforward, their faces filled with rage. At this point, Ningyu made a rough judgment in his heart. No wonder Yang Zhaokai wanted to lure these people out. It turned out that he, a puppet, was not restricted. That was true. Who wanted to be a puppet? Yang Zhaokai wanted to make use of this opportunity to lay his cards on the table and fight for the benefits that belonged to him. Or rather, Yang Zhaokai wanted to kill with a borrowed knife. He wanted Ningyu to help him get rid of the 2 rank 3 Quasi-Emperors. Ningyu was no fool. If he joined forces with Ao Xing and the rest, they could easily kill the 2 early rank 3 Quasi-Emperors. However, the consequences of doing so would be unimaginable. After all, this was Divine Wind City, and he did not have much backing. If he acted rashly, he might be schemed against. Ningyu did not speak. Yang Zhaokai did not speak. The 2 early rank 3 Quasi-Emperors looked at Yang Yiming and did not speak either. Even the 2 early rank 4 Quasi-Emperors did not speak. For a time, the entire martial proclamation hall became extremely quiet. It was as if whoever spoke would be at a disadvantage. The atmosphere became somewhat solemn. After a while, Yang Zhaokai could not bear it anymore and said in a deep voice, "Uncle Wang, kill Yang Yiming." Huh? Upon hearing Yang Zhaokai's words, one of the early rank 4 Quasi-Emperors in white raised an eyebrow and said coldly, "I hope you understand your position. Whether I kill Yang Yiming or not is not up to you. You dare to disobey my orders. Yang Zhaokai's expression turned cold. He struggled to break free from Yang Yuming's control and took out a golden token. He said to the white-robed rank 4 Quasi-Emperor, "This is the token that the current Palace Master of Night's Soul Palace gave me. Seeing this token is like seeing the Palace Master." The white-robed rank 4 Quasi-Emperor clenched his fists when he saw the golden token that Yang Zhaokai took out. His expression became extremely sinister. He struggled for a while. Thump! The white-robed rank 4 Quasi-Emperor bent his knees and knelt on the ground. He gritted his teeth and said, "Greetings, Palace Master." Thump! 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 The other 3 Quasi-Emperors also knelt on the ground and said in unison, "Greetings, Sect Master." Very well. I will now use the authority of the token. Wang Jinza, go kill Yang Yuming. Yang Zhaokai raised the golden token and said in a clear voice. The white-robed rank 4 Quasi-Emperor, called Wang Jinza, had a sinister expression on his face. Even if he succeeded in killing Yang Yuming in Divine Wind City, the consequences were not something he could bear. The Palace Master of Night's Soul Palace would definitely not protect him. "I'll kill you first." Wang Jinza gritted his teeth and said sternly, "Don't think that you can do whatever you want with the Palace Master's token. Even if I kill you, Night's Soul Palace can still support a new prince." Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Jinza dashed out and arrived in front of Yang Zhaokai. The attack of a rank 4 Quasi-Emperor was extremely powerful. No matter how strong Yang Zhaokai was, he was only a late-stage immortal king. How could a late-stage immortal king withstand the attack of a rank 4 Quasi-Emperor? However, Yang Zhaokai was extremely cunning. When Wang Jinza arrived in front of him, he quickly hid behind Yang Yuming, hoping that Yang Yuming would block Wang Jinza's attack for him. Bang! Ningyu saw all of this. Ningyu raised his right leg and kicked Yang Zhaokai's butt, sending him flying towards Wang Jinza. Oh no! The sudden change made Yang Zhaokai's expression change drastically. He hurriedly called out, "Uncle Qin, save me!" Swoosh! Yang Zhaokai's cry for help had some effect. The other early-stage rank 4 Quasi-Emperor immediately came in front of him and blocked Wang Jinza's attack for him. "How dare you block me?" Wang Jinza was a little surprised. He did not expect that a puppet like Yang Zhaokai could actually buy over Qin He. One had to know. Qin He was an early-stage rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. What could Yang Zhaokai take out to tempt Qin He? Could it be that Yang Zhaokai had the Emperor's spiritual liquid? Or did Yang Zhaokai have the blood essence of a high-level Quasi-Emperor? Chapter 25-29. So what if I stop you? After blocking Wang Jinza's attack, Qin He said indifferently, "Let me give you a piece of advice. Yang Zhaokai has the Palace Lord's token. If you kill him, you won't have an easy time either." Humph! If I don't kill him, I won't have an easy time either. Wang Jinza snorted coldly. "Qin He, let me ask you one last time. Are you going to continue to oppose me?" Sha sha sha. Qin He did not speak, but moved to stand in front of Yang Zhaokai. His meaning was self-evident. No matter what, today Wang Jinza's attack on Yang Zhaokai had determined his fate. Whether it was the Emperor of the Divine Wind Empire or the Palace Lord of the Night Soul Palace, they would definitely not let Wang Jinza off. If Wang Jinza was only a heaven-receiving realm expert or a rank 1 Quasi-Emperor, he could still live. But he was a rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. If the news that a rank 4 Quasi-Emperor attacked a prince of the Divine Wind Empire spread, the Divine Wind Empire would definitely become a laughingstock. Therefore, no matter what, the Emperor of the Divine Wind Empire would kill Wang Jinza forcefully and would not be lenient. Kill! Wang Jinza roared at the sky and used all his strength to attack Yang Zhaokai. Rumble. Unfortunately, with Qin He blocking, how could Wang Jinza succeed? After several attacks, Wang Jinza could not get close to Yang Zhaokai. "You two kill Yang Zhaokai." Seeing that he could not kill Yang Zhaokai, Wang Jinza turned to the 2 early rank 3 Quasi-Emperors beside him and said, "If either of you can kill Yang Zhaokai, I can promise to help him advance to rank 4 Quasi-Emperor in the future." There would always be brave men with great rewards. Under the temptation of a rank 4 quasi-emperor, the two early rank 3 quasi-emperors attacked, surrounding Yang Zhaokai from both sides. Retreat. Ningyu grabbed Yang Yuming and quickly retreated. Let them settle the matter between them. At least, now was not the time to get involved. When they were almost done fighting, he would reap the benefits. After all, Ningyu found that there was still a rank 4 quasi-emperor in the void who had not attacked. Relatively speaking, the rank 4 quasi-emperor in the void was the real expert. Mid-4th rank quasi-emperor, Wang Jinze and Qin, he were only early-stage 4th rank quasi-emperors. However, the quasi-emperor in the void was a terrifying mid-stage 4th rank quasi-emperor. You're courting death. 2 rank 3 quasi-emperors joining the battle enraged Qin He. If he were to face Wang Jinze alone, he could easily contend with him. With the addition of 2 early rank 3 quasi-emperors, the courage on his shoulders would increase significantly. It wasn't that he would be killed, but that he couldn't guarantee Yang Zhaokai's survival. Fifth brother, save me. Yang Zhaokai also panicked. A rank 3 quasi-emperor attacking him was something he had never expected. According to his calculations, Wang Jinze would want to kill him, and then Qin He and the 2 tier 3 quasi-emperors would join forces to kill Wang Jinze. Now, Wang Jinze had convinced a rank 3 quasi-emperor, putting him in a passive position. Should we save him? Outside the martial proclamation hall, Yang Yuming glanced at Ningyu and said, Yang Zhaokai's death here has somewhat affected me. Do you think I can save Yang Zhaokai? Ningyu asked calmly. This, Yang Yuming hesitated. He still didn't know how strong Ningyu was. However, seeing how calm Ningyu was, he felt that Ningyu should be able to deal with a rank 3 quasi-emperor. In fact, he felt that Ningyu could deal with a rank 4 quasi-emperor. If Ningyu knew what Yang Yuming was thinking, he would probably roll his eyes. With his early rank 2 quasi-emperor cultivation, coupled with the great Tao of devouring, he could at most contend with a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor and even kill him. Against a rank 4 quasi-emperor, his chances of victory were 0. Don't be anxious. If Yang Zhaokai wants to live, he has to pay a price. Ningyu waved his hand, indicating for Yang Yuming not to be anxious. Yang Zhaokai thought that he was the Oriole, but little did he know that the real Oriole was not him. As for the battle in the martial proclamation hall, Ningyu did not pay much attention. Yang Zhaokai would not die so easily. He saw clearly that Yang Zhaokai's eyes were flustered, but he did not lose his composure. This meant that Yang Zhaokai still had other trump cards. Which side is this rank 4 quasi-emperor on? Ningyu's brows were tightly knitted together. He thought about it. Ningyu explained the characteristics of a rank 4 quasi-emperor to Yang Yuming. Perhaps Yang Yuming knew who this rank 4 quasi-emperor was. As expected, Yang Yuming indeed knew what a rank 4 quasi-emperor was. Rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu. This rank 4 quasi-emperor was not from Night Soul Palace, but rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu of the Divine Wind Empire. In the Divine Wind Empire, only experts whose cultivation reached the rank of rank 4 quasi-emperor could have a title. Quanwu was a title personally conferred by the Emperor of the Divine Wind Empire 1,000 years ago. A rank 4 quasi-emperor of the Divine Wind Empire? Ningyu frowned slightly. If rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu was a neutral party, then he could step forward to help Yang Zhaokai. However, before helping Yang Zhaokai, he needed to obtain rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu's approval. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu instructed Yang Yuming to communicate with rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu and probe him to see if he was a neutral party. No problem. In fact, there was no need for Ningyu to say it. When Yang Yuming learned that the rank 4 quasi-emperor hidden in the void was rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu, he immediately made a judgment in his heart. Soul power gushed out. Yang Yuming began to communicate with rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu. While Yang Yuming was communicating with rank 4 quasi-emperor Quanwu, Qin He was still fighting with Wang Jinze and the others. Fighting 1 against 3. Although 2 of them were rank 3 quasi-emperors, The pressure on Qin He's shoulders was increasing. If this situation continued, at most an hour, Yang Zhaokai would be killed. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, half an hour passed. Okay. Yang Yuming suddenly nodded at Ning Yu and said, Rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. Kuang Wu agreed. Got it. Ning Yu gradually came to a decision in his heart. Even if Rank 4 Quasi-Emperor Kuang Wu agreed, he would not make a move immediately. He was waiting for the best opportunity. The icing on the cake was far inferior to providing timely help. Ning Yu's idea was to force Yang Zhaokai to use his final trump card. After all, Yang Zhaokai was more cunning. He could not force him to use his trump card at this time. Once Wang Jinzi was captured, no one would be able to restrain him. Damn it! Yang Zhaokai cursed inwardly. At the 50th minute, he roared at Yang Yuming again. Fifth brother, what are you waiting for? Benefits. Ning Yu came in front of Yang Yuming and said indifferently to Yang Zhaokai, Old fox. Yang Zhaokai glared fiercely at Ning Yu and said, If you help me kill 2 rank 3 quasi-emperors, I will give you Wang Jinzi's corpse. How can I trust you? Ning Yu would not be deceived by Yang Zhaokai. Chapter 25:30. How do I make you believe me? While hiding behind Qin, Yang Zhaokai rolled his eyes. Soon after, he clenched his teeth, as though he had made some kind of difficult decision. He said in a deep voice, I can open my mind and let a wisp of your soul force enter my sea of consciousness to control me. If I don't hand over Wang Jinzi's corpse to you, you can trigger the soul force in my sea of consciousness and turn me into a fool. Whoosh! Upon hearing Yang Zhaokai's words, Ning Yu was slightly stunned and felt that it was somewhat unbelievable. Could it be that Yang Zhaokai's trump card was in his body? He could easily break the soul force control. The more he thought about it, the more Ning Yu felt that it was possible. After all, his soul force was hidden in his sea of consciousness, which meant that Yang Zhaokai's life was in his hands. If he let Yang Zhaokai live, then Yang Zhaokai would live. If he let Yang Zhaokai die, then Yang Zhaokai would die without a doubt. In this situation, Yang Zhaokai still dared to open his mind and let his soul force enter his sea of consciousness. Obviously, he had a way to resist his soul force. However, how could Ning Yu be afraid of Yang Zhaokai? Taking a deep breath, he said to Ao Xing and Ning Lu on the side, Lend me some origin energy, I need it. Ao Xing was a true dragon. Ning Lu was a world tree. Their origin power was extremely terrifying. Even if it was just a little bit, it could have an absolute suppression effect. Coupled with Ning Yu's soul force, it would be harder for Yang Zhaokai to break it than to reach the heavens. No problem. After obtaining Ao Xing's and Ning Lu's origin energy, Ning Yu nodded at Yang Zhaokai and said, As long as my spiritual energy enters your body, I will immediately act and help you deal with 2 early 3rd rank quasi-emperors. All right. Yang Zhaokai was straightforward. He opened up his mind without any hesitation. Xiao. Ning Yu controlled his soul force. Ao Xing's and Ning Lu's source energies quietly flew towards Yang Zhaokai. Under Yang Zhaokai's calm gaze, they entered his sea of consciousness. Just as his soul force entered Yang Zhaokai's sea of consciousness, Ning Yu sensed something unusual. As expected, there was a terrifying force in Yang Zhaokai's sea of consciousness. That force was hidden in the dark. If not for Ning Yu's careful observation, he would not have noticed it. He has a few tricks up his sleeve. Ning Yu thought. Yang Zhaokai was no fool. Wang Jinzi was an early rank 4 quasi-emperor. His corpse was very useful. At the very least, he could refine a few drops of quasi-emperor blood essence. As for the blood essence of a quasi-emperor, it could help him win over the hearts of the people and nurture experts. Why would he want to hand it over to Ning Yu? Humph! How stupid! Yang Zhaokai snorted, as if everything was under his control. Go! Ning Yu did not expose Yang Zhaokai. He stomped his feet on the ground and immediately dashed out. Given his cultivation as an early 2nd rank quasi-emperor and the great Tao of devouring, it was naturally not difficult for him to deal with an early 3rd rank quasi-emperor. Rumble. The battle broke out instantly. 1 against 2, Ningyu did not seem to be at a disadvantage. If not for fear that killing 2 third-rank quasi-emperors prematurely would expose some of his trump cards, Ningyu did not choose to use the Great Tao of Devouring. He did not even activate the War God body. Relying solely on the cultivation of an early second-rank quasi-emperor, he fought with 2 early third-rank quasi-emperors. For a moment, both sides were actually somewhat evenly matched. Even so, Ningyu blocked the 2 third-rank quasi-emperors, which also bought a lot of time for Qin He. Crack! Qin He forced Wang Jinza back with a punch. He hurriedly took out a white medicinal pill and threw it into his mouth. The medicinal pill melted in his mouth and went down his throat into his stomach. The medicinal pill that Qin He swallowed was an emperor-rank medicinal pill. Its effect was extremely overbearing. A medicinal pill entered his stomach. Qin He's weak aura began to soar at a terrifying speed. In a short few seconds, Qin He recovered from his weak state to his peak state. Qin He and Wang Jinza were both early 4th-rank quasi-emperors. Now, one was in his peak state, and the other was in a weak state. If the battle continued, the result could already be predicted. Wang Jinza would lose without a doubt. Go! Wang Jinza knew this point. He glared fiercely at Yang Zhaokai, then tore the void with both hands and directly tunneled in. Wang Jinza was clearer than anyone about the consequences of continuing to fight. As the saying went, where there is life, there is hope. Wang Jinza did not wish to die here. He wanted to leave and find a place to lie low. In the future, when he cultivated to 5th-rank quasi-emperor or even 6th-rank quasi-emperor, he would come back and kill Yang Zhaokai. Where are you going? However, how could Qin He allow Wang Jinza to leave? The destructive power that an early 4th-rank quasi-emperor could cause was extremely great. If he let Wang Jinza go today, in the future, Yang Zhaokai's forces would very likely be completely massacred. Soul extinguishing fist. Qin He clenched his right hand into a fist. A terrifying energy fluctuation appeared, and he punched at the void ruthlessly. Qin He used a full 100% of his strength in this punch, because today was the best opportunity to kill Wang Jinza. If he missed this opportunity, there would be no more. I'm not resigned. Not long later, a hysterical scream came from Wang Jinza's mouth. As for Wang Jinza himself, he fell from the void and crashed heavily onto the ground. Puffed. Blood spurted out of his mouth. Wang Jinza's aura instantly dropped from the early 4th-rank quasi-emperor to the early 1st-rank quasi-emperor level. In fact, it continued to drop. Bang! There was a muffled sound. Wang Jinza's aura dropped to the heaven-receiving realm. Quasi-Emperor Kuang-Wu, this is an internal matter of our Night Soul Palace. Why did you interfere? Wang Jinza did not look at Qin He, nor did he look at Yang Zhaokai. Instead, he stared at the void and said coldly, "Aren't you afraid of the Palace Master of Night Soul Palace?" Buzz. The void trembled. Then, Quasi-Emperor Kuang-Wu appeared from the void. Huh. Quasi-Emperor Kuang-Wu smiled and said indifferently, "I don't want to interfere with the internal affairs of Night Soul Palace, but I want to tell you clearly that this is the Divine Wind Empire, not Night Soul Palace. Even if your Palace Master comes, he won't dare to say anything." You. Wang Jinza clenched his fists tightly, and his expression was extremely cold. He was about to leave just now, but who would have thought that Quasi-Emperor Kuang-Wu would seal the void, causing his speed to be slightly slower, and he was hit in the chest by Qin He's attack. Otherwise, there was no way that Qin He could catch up to him alone. Take care of your own matters. Quasi-Emperor Kuang-Wu glanced at Yang Yuming and Yang Zhaokai one last time, then tore open the void and entered. Bang! Bang! Quasi-Emperor Kuang-Wu had just left. On the other side, Ningyu seized the opportunity and threw 2 punches, sending 2 early 3rd-rank Quasi-Emperors flying and landing at Qin He's feet. Ningyu would not kill early 3rd-rank Quasi-Emperors. His goal was to send the 3rd-rank Quasi-Emperors to Qin He's side and let him deal with them. Chapter 25:31. Many thanks. Qin He gave a cupped fist salute as he glanced at Ningyu. Qin He was very grateful to Ningyu. If not for Ningyu blocking the two early third-rank quasi-emperors for him, he would still be fighting with Wang Jinzi, and he did not know when he would have one. Although Wang Jinzi's defeat was partly due to Quasi-Emperor Kuang Wu's help, Ningyu's role could not be ignored. No need. I have an agreement with Yang Zhaokai. Ningyu waved his hand and said, I hope you can kill Wang Jinzi as soon as possible and hand over his corpse to me. Qin He turned to look at Yang Zhaokai with a questioning expression. The price of handing over Wang Jinzi's corpse to Ningyu was honestly quite high. A fourth-rank quasi-emperor was a mid-level quasi-emperor. Not only was his essence, blood, and physical body useful, but his memories were also very useful. If some peak third-rank quasi-emperors obtained the memories of a fourth-rank quasi-emperor, they would have a very high chance of breaking through to the fourth-rank quasi-emperor realm. Yang Yuming, do you really want Wang Jinzi's corpse? Yang Zhaokai placed his hands behind his back, appearing very confident. He took a step forward, raised his right foot, and stepped on Wang Jinzi's head. He said indifferently, I can make the decision to let you have the corpses of the other two early rank 3 quasi-emperors. Furthermore, I will leave the prince's residence and give it to you. You mean to say that you want to go back on your word? Yang Yuming had previously discussed this with Quasi-Emperor Kuang Wu. Quasi-Emperor Kuang Wu also wanted Wang Jinzi's corpse. Therefore, he had to fight for Wang Jinzi's corpse no matter what. Ha 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 ha. Yang Zhaokai suddenly laughed wildly. After laughing wildly, Yang Zhaokai exerted a little force with his right foot and directly crushed Wang Jinzi's head. At this point, Wang Jinzi of the Knight's Soul Palace, an early fourth-rank quasi-emperor, died tragically on the spot. Fifth brother, is he the one you're relying on? Yang Zhaokai's lips curled up. He glanced at Ningyu and said, Ningyu, tell me who Wang Jinzi's corpse belongs to. While they were speaking, Yang Zhaokai stimulated the force in his sea of consciousness, wanting to force out Ningyu's soul force. Pucci. However, Yang Zhaokai had just activated his strength when he felt that Ningyu's soul force was on the verge of exploding. At this time, Yang Zhaokai panicked. Why was the force unable to expel Ningyu's soul force? Once Ningyu's soul force exploded in his sea of consciousness, the consequences would be unimaginable. What happened? Seeing the change in Yang Zhaokai's expression, Qin He's expression changed slightly as he asked. Now, Qin He and Yang Zhaokai were already grasshoppers on the same rope. They were bound together for good or bad. If Yang Zhaokai could become the crown prince, his status would rise, and he might even gain absolute power in Night Soul Palace. However, if anything were to happen to Yang Zhaokai, his fate would not be any better. After all, Wang Jinzi's death had something to do with him. The Palace Lord of Night Soul Palace must have already known about Wang Jinzi's death. The Palace Lord did not send him a message because Wang Jinzi had already died, and the Palace Lord did not want him to die as well. I'm fine. Yang Zhaokai took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. In front of Qin He, Yang Zhaokai knew that he could not show the slightest bit of panic. Otherwise, Qin He might really turn to Yang Yuming. You win. Yang Zhaokai glared at Ningyu and said in a low voice, Give Wang Jinzi's body to Yang Yuming. Let's go. Bang. He exerted a little force with his right foot. Yang Zhaokai kicked Wang Jinzi toward Ningyu. Ningyu did not go to pick up Wang Jinzi. Yang Yuming had already told him about the conversation between Quasi-Emperor Kuang Wu and him. Even if he wanted Wang Jinzi's body, he could not do so. Ningyu did not have the guts to go against Quasi-Emperor Kuang Wu in the Divine Wind Empire for the time being. Thump, thump, thump. The moment Yang Zhaokai and Qin He left, the two early-stage third-order quasi-emperors immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Ningyu. Please spare our lives. We are third-order quasi-emperors. We could do many things for you. Yang Zhaokai was not stupid. He would not go against Ningyu until he expelled the soul force from his knowledge sea. He originally wanted to take the third-stage quasi-emperor away, but on second thought, If he took the third stage quasi-emperor away, what if Ningyu unleashed his invincible might? One had to know that his weakness was in Ningyu's hands. What things can you do for us? Ningyu crossed his arms and looked at the two kowtowing third-order quasi-emperors with interest. Tell me, if I'm satisfied, I don't mind letting you go. The two early-stage third-order quasi-emperors looked at each other and gritted their teeth. We know everything about Yang Zhaokai. We can tell you. Speak, Ningyu said. On the slightly plump early-stage third-order quasi-emperor hurriedly said, Yang Zhaokai is actually not Yang Zhaokai. The real Yang Zhaokai is long dead. This Yang Zhaokai is a fake. The other slightly thinner early-stage third-order quasi-emperor added, Yang Zhaokai is very scheming. He is not as simple as he looks on the surface. According to my understanding, he secretly cultivated a terrifying force. The martial artists inside are all quasi-emperor powerhouses. That's all. Ningyu asked. Honestly speaking, this information was not very helpful to Ningyu. Unless Yang Zhaokai had a high-level quasi-emperor backing him up, the soul force in his knowledge could not be expelled. As long as the soul force could not be expelled, then Yang Zhaokai was destined to be controlled by him. What else? The two early-stage, third-order quasi-emperors were puzzled. Ningyu ignored them and turned to look at Yang Yumming. What do we do with these two people? Do we kill them or keep them? Ningyu is not a hothead. Whether to kill the third-order quasi-emperors or let them go, it was up to Yang Yumming. Behind Yang Yumming was Quasi-Emperor Quangwu, and Quasi-Emperor Quangwu represented the Emperor of the Divine Wind Empire. The Palace Lord of Night, Soul Palace, did not dare to do anything to Yang Yumming, but he could. Keep them. Yang Yumming thought for a moment and said, Rest here for a while. I have something to do. No problem. Be careful. Ningyu nodded. I know. Yang Yumming took the two black elixirs from Sun Luan's hands and threw them to the two early-stage third-order quasi-emperors. Swallow them and follow me. Crack, crack. Under the threat of death, the two third-order quasi-emperors swallowed the black elixirs without another word and left the hall with Yang Yumming. After Yang Yumming and the others left, Ningyu took out a few more drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid and tossed them to Xiao Duanya, Lin Lang, and the others. He said, Everyone, use this period of time to properly cultivate. Strive for everyone to advance a step further. Xiao Duanya and Lin Lang were both at the Dao Domain realm. Ningyu hoped that they could advance to the Dao Advent realm as soon as possible, or even the Heaven Receiving realm. Chapter 25-32. In a martial proclamation hall, Ning Lu frowned slightly as he looked at Ningyu. Ningyu, are you sure we want to stay and assist Yang Yumming in his fight for the position of Crown Prince? This is the Divine Wind Empire, and there are mid-level and high-level quasi-emperors. With our strength, we might not be able to gain any benefits if we join in. I considered this point. How could Ningyu not know what Ning Lu was worried about? It was the possibility of encountering danger. However, when they left the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm, Mu Hai said that experts from the Sacred Mountain would come looking for them in, at most, 3 days. Under such circumstances, staying in the Divine Wind Empire would be safer. After all, he did not know what kind of place the Sacred Mountain was, or what the attitude of the experts from the Sacred Mountain was like. One must be vigilant. Staying in the Divine Wind Empire to help Yang Yumming fight for the position of Crown Prince was perhaps the best choice now. Up to you. I'm going into seclusion. Ning Lu thought for a moment, then leaped up and entered the Red Fiend sword to lie dormant. Ao Xing did not enter the Red Fiend sword. He sat cross-legged in the martial proclamation hall and continued to refine the short-tailed giant horn beast. Swoosh! As for Ningyu, with a flick of his wrist, he retrieved dozens of drops of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid and began to devour them. Ningyu's current cultivation was that of an early-level, second-level quasi-emperor. He could contend against and even kill ordinary peak third-level quasi-emperors. However, Ningyu was not satisfied with the current situation. In the next 3 days, he needed to raise his cultivation to peak second-level quasi-emperor as much as possible, because only when his cultivation reached peak second-level quasi-emperor would he be qualified to fight against a fourth-level quasi-emperor. Otherwise, if a fourth-level quasi-emperor attacked him, he would die without a doubt. At this time, Ningyu had more than 1,000 drops of Great Emperor's spiritual liquid on him. Ningyu would not foolishly devour the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid himself. He used the devouring Great Tao to devour the Great Emperor's spiritual liquid and improve together. At the same time, Ningyu also used the Emperor's spiritual liquid to cultivate his God of War body, so he could break through to the third form of the God of War as soon as possible. The peak of the second transformation of the War God allowed his body to be as strong as a peak second-order quasi-emperor. The third transformation of the War God could very well make his body as strong as a peak third-order quasi-emperor. Drip, drip. Cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. If one did not advance, they would fall behind. Time was ticking away. Inside the Red Demon Sword, Ning Lu spent a day completely refining the Blood Sky Battle Emperor's doppelganger. His cultivation soared from the peak of the second-rank quasi-emperor realm to the late third-rank quasi-emperor realm. Although the Blood Sky Battle Monarch's clone was a peak rank for quasi-emperor, Mu Hai and the others had taken away his source energy to calculate the location of the Blood Sky Battle Monarch's true body. Otherwise, after refining the Blood Sky Battle Emperor's doppelganger, Ning Lu could at least advance to the peak of the third-order quasi-emperor realm and not the late third-order quasi-emperor realm. Boom! Ning Lu left the Red Demon Sword as soon as he advanced to late-stage third-order quasi-emperor. However, as soon as Ning Lu's foot left the Red Devil Sword, Ao Xing's body emitted a surge of energy that soared into the sky. Late-stage third-order quasi-emperor. Like Ning Lu, Ao Xing's cultivation had also reached late-stage third-order quasi-emperor realm. Ning Lu frowned slightly. He discovered that there was still some energy in Ao Xing's body that had not been refined. In other words, Ao Xing's physical body had not completely merged with his illusory body. Without completely merging, Ao Xing's cultivation recovered to late-stage third-order quasi-emperor. One could imagine that once it was completely merged, Ao Xing's cultivation could at least recover to the fourth-order quasi-emperor realm. However, there was one point that Ning Lu was more puzzled about. Ao Xing had already left the quasi-emperor mystic realm. Why was he still with them? Could it be that he had no relatives or friends? However, Ao Xing did not say, so Ning Lu did not ask. Anyway, Ao Xing's strength was not weaker than his. With Ao Xing, this helper, he might really be able to help young Yuming compete for the position of Crown Prince. Ao Xing, who had recovered to late-stage third-order quasi-emperor, would not be at a disadvantage even if he fought with a mid-stage fourth-order quasi-emperor. After all, Ao Xing's original body was a true dragon and possessed the body of a true dragon. As for him, since his original body was a world tree, he would not be at a disadvantage when fighting with a mid-stage fourth-order quasi-emperor. In fact, Ning Lu was more concerned about Ningyu. Although he was refining Blood Sky Battle Emperor's doppelganger in the Red Demon Sword, Ning Lu's attention was always on Ningyu. At first, Ningyu swallowed 10 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid. After half an hour, Ningyu seemed to feel that 10 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid was not effective, so he directly swallowed 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid. One should know, that was high-class Emperor's spiritual liquid. Even he, swallowing 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid at once was somewhat difficult. Whether Ningyu could completely refine the Emperor's spiritual liquid, Ning Lu was not particularly certain. Swish! At this time, Ningyu's eyes suddenly opened. Without saying anything, he took out another 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid and swallowed them. Gulp! Seeing Ningyu's action, Ning Lu and Ao Xing exchange a glance, both seeing a trace of astonishment in each other's eyes. 200 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid. This number had already far exceeded their imagination. Swish! However, the most shocking thing had yet to happen. Ningyu seemed to feel that 200 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid was not enough. He took out another 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid and swallowed them. What the F***CK? Ning Lu and Ao Xing burst out cursing after seeing Ningyu's action. 300 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid. What was Ningyu trying to do? The two did not disturb Ningyu, but paid close attention to the surroundings. If someone were to disturb Ningyu at this time, the consequences would be unimaginable. You stay here and guard him. Ning Lu stomped his foot and leaped into the air. He flew to the front of the martial announcing hall and stood guard there. Ao Xing stood beside Ningyu, guarding Ningyu. I'll refine 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid myself, 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid for the devouring Tao, and 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid to cultivate the 3 forms of the divine god of battle. Ningyu did not pay any attention to Ning Lu and Ao Xing's astonishment. He did not dare to refine 300 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid at once. In his opinion, he only refined 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid. The remaining 200 drops were given to the devouring Tao, while the remaining 100 drops were used to cultivate the 3 forms of the divine god of battle. Only by cultivating 3 forms at the same time could his strength reach its limit. Bang! 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 A while later, 3 dull thuds took place in a row. The first thud was produced when Ningyu's cultivation ranked up to the mid-stage second order martial monarch realm. The second thud was produced when the devouring Tao completely refined 100 drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid, raising its ranking to 250th. The third thud was produced. It was produced when Ningyu cultivated the 3 forms of the divine god of battle to its peak. Refine with all my might. Ningyu did not continue to use the devouring Tao and the 3 forms of the divine god of battle to consume the Emperor's spiritual liquid. He put away the devouring Tao and concealed his divine god of battle body before focusing on his cultivation. There were only 2 days left until the 3-day deadline. Chapter 25:33. No way. While Ningyu was cultivating in a certain study room in the 5th prince's residence, Yang Yuming's expression was cold as he said in a deep voice, "Absolutely not. Ningyu is my benefactor. How can I let him fight for the position of crown prince on my behalf?" 5th prince, beside Yang Yuming, Sun Luan said sternly, "Since Ningyu and the rest chose to stay, they definitely want to fight for the position of crown prince on your behalf. Now that the emperor has set the rules, we must abide by them. But to let Ningyu and a rank 4 quasi-emperor, forget it. Even if I don't fight for the position of crown prince, I also can't let Ningyu and the rest take the risk." Yang Yuming shook his head and said, "Not long ago, Yang Yuming received the imperial edict sent by the emperor. The edict clearly stated the rules of the fight for the position of crown prince. All the princes who wanted to fight for the position of crown prince had to start a contest in the palace. It did not mean that whichever prince was the strongest could fight for the position of crown prince. All the crown princes would engage in arena battles to choose the 2 strongest princes. The rest would be to test the prince's connections. The second rule was to let the prince's aides take action and engage in a great battle with no requirements, which was also a life and death battle. The reason why Yang Yuming was unwilling to let Ningyu take action was that he understood that the other princes each had a rank 4 quasi-emperor by their side. Even if he could pass the first round, he absolutely could not let Ningyu send himself to death in the second round either. Was Ningyu strong? Yang Yuming felt that Ningyu was strong, very strong. However, no matter how strong Ningyu was, could he be stronger than a rank 4 quasi-emperor? Yang Yuming knew that Ningyu's cultivation speed was fast, but in 3 days' time, where could Ningyu advance to middle-rank quasi-emperor? There was a saying in the quasi-emperor world: those whose cultivation did not reach middle-rank quasi-emperor were all ants. The meaning was that if a middle-rank quasi-emperor wanted to deal with a quasi-emperor below rank 3, they only needed to use aura pressure, and it was enough to kill them. 5th Prince, Young Master, now that things have come to this, do you think you can stay out of this? Sun Lun tried his best to make his tone as friendly as possible. Even if you don't compete for the position of crown prince, the other princes will definitely kill you once they ascend the throne. Not only you, Ning Yu and the others won't be able to escape either. Don't you know that Wang Jin's death was largely due to Ning Yu and the others? Do you think Night Soul Palace will let Ning Yu off? Stop joking. If I'm not mistaken, the elites of Night Soul Palace have already arrived at the capital of the Divine Wind Empire. As long as you fail to become the crown prince, the people of Night Soul Palace will kill Ning Yu and the others. Sun Lun saw it clearly. He had analyzed the situation thoroughly with just a few words. Yang Yuming had to fight for the position of crown prince, even if he didn't want to. How could there be a prince who cared about his own safety? Sometimes, when one was in the Jianghu, one's actions were beyond one's control. If he didn't fight for it, others would kill him. Although he might not win if he fought for it, it was better than doing nothing and waiting for death. All right. Yang Yiming took a deep breath and said, "Give me that elixir. I'm going into seclusion to break through to the heaven-receiving realm, or even the first stage quasi-emperor." Swoosh! Sun Lun flicked his sleeves and tossed a blood-red elixir to Yang Yiming. An emperor-level elixir. A true emperor-level elixir. The kind refined by a great emperor expert. As the fifth prince of the Divine Wind Empire, how could Yang Yiming not have some trump cards? In the beginning, he had kept the emperor-level elixir for when he reached the heaven-receiving realm, so that he could break through to the second stage quasi-emperor. But now, time was running out. There was news that the 4th, 9th, 13th, and 18th princes had all reached the peak of the heaven-receiving realm and were breaking through to the first stage quasi-emperor. If he was one step slower, he would fall behind. Crack! Yang Yiming caught the elixir and threw it into his mouth without any hesitation. Along with a clear and melodious sound rang out. The emperor-level elixir was crushed by Yang Yiming's teeth, turning into rich medicinal energy and entering his abdomen. Just swallowing the elixir, Yang Yiming felt an intense pain. This level of pain could even reach the 13th level. Persevere. Sun Lun placed his right hand on Yang Yiming's shoulder and said, "Fifth Prince, your talent is very high. The reason why your cultivation has been low all these years is because your mother has been helping you suppress it. Now that you've swallowed an emperor-level elixir, whether you transform from a carp to a dragon or a carp to a worm, it all depends on your luck." "I know." Yang Yiming gritted his teeth and said, "All these years, it was not that Yang Yiming's talent was poor, but he was being suppressed by his mother. Lin Feng would definitely destroy the tree that stood out." Yang Yiming's mother was very open-minded. The emperor of the Divine Wind Empire had many sons. A long time ago, there was a youngest son who displayed extremely powerful talent and cultivated to the immortal king realm at a young age. And at that time, the other princes were still lingering at the Heaven Monarch realm. However, just as that youngest son was about to break through to the quasi-emperor realm, he was suddenly encircled by a group of mysterious forces and died in another country. At that time, the emperor was furious and said that he would thoroughly investigate. But after a few years, this matter was left unsettled. Since then, the luck of the princes of the Divine Wind Empire seemed to be exhausted, and none of them displayed extremely powerful talent. They seemed to have discussed that if you were a Heaven Monarch realm, I would be a Heaven Monarch realm. If you were an Immortal King realm, I would be an Immortal King realm. No one was willing to advance in advance. But everyone knew, with the Emperor's edict, all of this was about to change. In a short period of a day, the 4th Prince, 9th Prince, 13th Prince, 18th Prince, and even a few unknown princes all advanced to the peak of the heaven-receiving realm and were about to break through to the first stage quasi-emperor realm. Under such circumstances, Yang Yiming naturally had to work hard to break through and strive not to fall behind. Drip! Time passed by quickly. Yang Yiming was breaking through, and so was Ning Yu. The only hidden danger was that the 5th Prince's residence did not have a 4th stage quasi-emperor holding down the fort. After quasi-emperor Kuang Wu obtained Wang Jin's corpse, He immediately left and returned to his residence to enter closed-door seclusion. Therefore, the fifth prince's residence was the most unsafe of the many princes vying for the position of crown prince. Crack, crack, crack. At this time, next to a fake mountain in the fifth prince's residence, the void trembled, and two martial artists appeared in the void. 18th prince said that we must kill Ningyu this time. These two martial artists, one dressed in white robes, the other in black robes. The white-robed martial artist said in a low voice, Ningyu is the fifth prince's greatest reliance. As long as we kill him, the fifth prince will automatically give up the fight for the position of crown prince. I don't quite understand. The fifth prince's strength is weak. Even if he participates in the fight for the position of crown prince, it is absolutely impossible for him to pose a threat to 18th prince. Why does 18th prince still take it to heart? Could it be because the fifth prince snatched back the residence? The black-robed martial artist said doubtfully, What do you know? Chapter 25:34. Yes, the black-robed martial artist responded, then leaped up and quietly sped towards the martial proclamation Great Hall. Among them, the white-robed martial artist was an early-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor, while the black-robed martial artist was a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor. The two of them heading to the fifth prince's residence this time only had one goal, and that was to kill Ningyu. After Yang Zhaokai returned to the 18th prince's residence, he discovered that he was unable to expel the soul force that Ningyu left in his body. Even if he made a move, it was to no avail. Hence, Yang Zhaokai decided to go all out and send someone to kill Ningyu. Ningyu had seen he before, and so had Yang Yumming. So sending he over was clearly an irrational action. Hence, Yang Zhaokai sent another early-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor, a white-robed martial artist. For safety's sake, Yang Zhaokai also sent an additional peak rank 3 quasi-emperor to follow. If an early-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor and a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor attacked together, Yang Zhaokai believed that Ningyu would definitely die. Because Yang Zhaokai had investigated, Quasi-Emperor Quan Wu was not in the fifth prince's residence. If Quasi-Emperor Quan Wu was in the fifth prince's residence, Yang Zhaokai definitely would not dare to act rashly. After all, he only had 2 rank 4 quasi-emperors on his side. Once one died, it would be a huge loss to him. He could not afford it. And, at the same time, in front of the martial proclamation Great Hall, Ning Lu's brows raised, faintly discovering a void fluctuation. Someone's here. With a thought, Ning Lu hurriedly contacted A.O. Xing in the Great Hall. He was in charge of guarding outside the Great Hall, while A.O. Xing was in charge of guarding inside. The two of them stood guard for Ningyu, preventing anyone from disturbing Ningyu. Now that Ning Lu discovered the black-robed martial artist in the void, he did not choose to act rashly. Ning Lu was very clear. There would definitely be more than one person who dared to come to the martial proclamation Great Hall at this time. Peak rank 3 quasi-emperor. There should be another big fish. Ning Lu's expression became extremely solemn. Although he had advanced to late-stage rank 3 quasi-emperor, A.O. Xing was also a late-stage rank 3 quasi-emperor. But if they fought here, even if they could kill the cultivators in the void, it would definitely affect Ningyu. A.O. Xing, did you notice the other martial artist in the void? Ning Lu began communicating with A.O. Xing. He didn't dare to release his perception too much, so he only discovered the black-robed martial artist and not the white-robed martial artist. There's also an early fourth order. A.O. Xing's expression was also solemn. A.O. Xing glanced at Ningyu, who was trying to break through to the peak of the second-rank quasi-emperor realm, and said in a low voice, "Don't act rashly and alert the enemy. Go deal with that peak of the third-rank quasi-emperor later. Try to kill him in one strike. I'll inform Yang Yumming first and get him to activate the formation of the fifth prince's residence to prevent a fourth-rank quasi-emperor from escaping." There was a formation in the fifth prince's residence. If the formation was activated, even a rank 5 quasi-emperor would find it hard to escape. However, The activation of the array formation required time. If they beat the grass and startle the snake now, then that rank 4 quasi-emperor would definitely slip away. Therefore, Ao Xing decided to inform Yang Yuming first and leave this side to Ning Lu to handle. "I know what to do," Ning Lu replied. After receiving Ning Lu's reply, Ao Xing sat down cross-legged and extended his powerful perception to search for Yang Yuming. In order to prevent the 4th rank quasi-emperor from noticing anything, Ao Xing's perception extended very slowly. Even though the martial proclamation hall was only 1,000 meters away from where Yang Yuming was, it would take several minutes to reach this 1,000 meters. "Don't make a move," Ao Xing thought to himself as he spread out his perception. Might as well. The peak of the 3rd rank quasi-emperor hidden in the void was even more careful than Ao Xing. He approached the martial proclamation hall carefully, afraid that Ning Lu and Ao Xing would discover him. This bought Ao Xing a lot of time. What? 3 minutes later, when Sun Luan received the message from Ao Xing, his entire person was in a state of rage. As Yang Yuming was cultivating, the one who received the message was Sun Luan. Without any hesitation, Sun Luan immediately came to the core area of the 5th prince's residence and expended a large amount of 2 realm stones to activate the formation. Whoosh! As Sun Luan activated the formation, Ao Xing's worried heart eased slightly. The formation only needed 10 seconds to activate. Even if the quasi-emperor in the void attacked now, he did not need to worry too much. Kill! As if sensing something, the rank 3 quasi-emperor in the void let out a loud roar and charged at Ningyu in the Great Hall. Rumble! This punch was extremely powerful and directly blasted a hole in the martial proclamation hall. The black-robed martial artist's fist arrived in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye and was only half an inch away from hitting Ningyu's head. However, at this moment, the black-robed martial artist's expression changed drastically. Without thinking too much, he immediately chose to retreat. Bang! However, the speed of the black-robed martial artist's retreat was clearly slower by half a beat. He had just retreated a few steps when Ning Lu's fist arrived in front of his head and landed on it. Ning Lu was a late-stage, 3rd rank quasi-emperor. How could a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor like the black-robed martial artist withstand his full-force attack? After all, after advancing to late-stage 3rd rank quasi-emperor, Ning Lu's strength already possessed the capital to contend with a 4th rank quasi-emperor. In addition, the black-robed martial artist only wanted to escape in his panic, so he did not put up any useful resistance and was easily killed by Ning Lu's punch. Not good. The black-robed martial artist's tragic death caused the expression of the white-robed martial artist hidden in the void to change drastically. The white-robed martial artist was different from the black-robed martial artist. The black-robed martial artist was only a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor, while the white-robed martial artist was an early-stage 4th rank quasi-emperor. Through Ning Lu's attack just now, the white-robed martial artist very easily determined that Ning Lu's strength was extremely powerful. Fighting with Ning Lu, especially in the 5th prince's residence, was clearly not a wise choice. Therefore, the white-robed martial artist immediately took out the quasi-emperor talisman that he had prepared in advance, threw it into the air, and activated it. Whoosh! The quasi-emperor talisman activated, the void trembled, and a vortex appeared. Explode! Before entering the vortex, the white-robed martial artist suddenly triggered the black-robed martial artist's soul power, causing the black-robed martial artist to self-destruct. Damn it! Ning Lu originally wanted to chase after the white-robed martial artist, but when he saw the black-robed martial artist self-destruct, he had no choice but to choose to stop and protect Ningyu. Instead, it was Ao Xing who attacked at full speed, chasing after the white-robed martial artist and preventing him from entering the vortex. High-grade quasi-emperor talisman. Ao Xing saw it clearly. The talisman that the white-robed martial artist took out was a high-grade quasi-emperor talisman. The 5th prince's residence's array formation could not stop it at all. This was the only plan now. Only he could block the white-robed martial artist and prevent him from entering the vortex. As long as he could delay the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman, then the white-robed martial artist would have no way to escape. Go! Ao Xing gathered the energy in his body, gathered it all on his fist, and punched out with a backhand. Chi-chi, terrifying energy rubbed against the void, giving off sizzling sounds. Almost in an instant, it arrived in front of the white-robed martial artist. At this moment, the white-robed martial artist faced two choices. First, continue to enter the vortex. Then there was a possibility of being hit by Ao Xing's attack. Chapter 25-35. The white-robed cultivator's eyes darted around, quickly thinking of countermeasures. Very soon, the white-robed cultivator made his decision. This was not a good place to stay. Escape was the best plan. If he stayed, he might be able to block Ao Xing's attack, but the result would be that he would be trapped in the formation. If he sneak attacked a prince in Divine Wind City and was discovered by others, then his outcome was destined to be very miserable. Hence, he would rather be hit by Ao Xing's attack and enter the whirlpool to escape the fifth prince's residence. Bang! The instant the white-robed cultivator made his decision, the energy that Ao Xing blasted out arrived behind him and blasted fiercely at his back. Ah! A melodious voice came from the white-robed cultivator, accompanied by the miserable shriek of a pig being slaughtered. I will be back. The instant the white-robed cultivator entered the whirlpool, he did not forget to look back at Ao Xing and said fiercely, "Next time, I will definitely kill you. I will cut you into 8 pieces." Is that so? However, the white-robed cultivator had just finished speaking. An indifferent voice rang in his ears. "Of course no, you are Puff." The white-robed cultivator nodded at first, but suddenly his pupils constricted and he wanted to quickly enter the whirlpool. However, it was clearly too late for the white-robed cultivator to enter the whirlpool at this time. Ningyu raised his right leg and kicked the white-robed cultivator's chest. Crack! 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 The huge force broke several of the white-robed cultivator's ribs. Actually, when the white-robed cultivator came to the fifth prince's residence, Ningyu had already noticed some clues. The reason why Ningyu did not come out of seclusion immediately was that he was trying to break through to peak rank 2 quasi-emperor and was at a critical juncture. Under such circumstances, he naturally would not attack rashly, but chose to let Ning Lu and Ao Xing block for a while. Ning Lu and Ao Xing did not disappoint him. Ning Lu easily killed the black-robed cultivator. Ao Xing delayed some time to prevent the white-robed cultivator from leaving. It was this precious time that allowed Ning Yu to advance to peak rank 2 quasi-emperor. After advancing to peak rank 2 quasi-emperor, Ning Yu's strength increased by several times. Originally, Ning Yu thought that even if he advanced to the peak of rank 2 quasi-emperor, his overall strength would only be able to contend against an early rank 4 quasi-emperor. However, Ningyu had underestimated the power of the devouring Great Tao. Just by relying on his cultivation, he could indeed only contend against an early-stage 4th-level quasi-emperor. However, with the addition of the devouring Great Tao, he could easily kill a mid-stage 4th-level quasi-emperor. He took a deep breath. Ningyu moved his feet and arrived in front of the white-robed martial artist. "Don't come near me." Seeing Ningyu walking towards him, the white-robed cultivator revealed a look of horror and hurriedly said, "I am the 18th prince's man. If you kill me, the 18th prince will never let you go." 18th prince? Ningyu raised his eyebrows. It seemed that Yang Zhaokai was not content with his lot. Since that was the case, he might as well teach him a lesson. Thinking of this, with a thought, Ningyu began to guide Yang Zhaokai's soul force. At the same time, in the 18th prince's residence, Yang Zhaokai let out a hysterical scream and kept rolling on the ground. "What's going on?" Beside Yang Zhaokai, Qinhe's face was full of worry as he hurriedly asked. "It's Ningyu." Forcefully enduring the pain coming from all over his body, Yang Zhaokai said in a cold voice, "The people we sent out should have been discovered by Ningyu and the others. They might even have met with mishap. Impossible. Qin He's pupils constricted as he shook his head. The white-robed martial artist was an early-stage 4th-level quasi-emperor, while the black-robed martial artist was a peak 3rd-level quasi-emperor. If it was said that the two of them failed, Qin He would somewhat believe it. But if it was said that they met with mishap, Qin He would not believe it at all. He was very clear about Ning Yu's strength. Dealing with early-stage 3rd-level and mid-stage quasi-emperors was still possible. But dealing with a 4th-level quasi-emperor, he did not even have the chance to escape. Report. At this time, outside the door, a heaven-receiving realm martial artist knelt on one knee, his face pale. This heaven-receiving realm martial artist was holding a token in his hand. At this time, the token was already shattered. What's the matter? Qin He was already in a bad mood, and now that he heard the words of a 1st-level quasi-emperor, he immediately asked in a low voice. Zhou Jiaming, the heaven-receiving realm martial artist stammered. He was originally guarding all the quasi-emperor tokens of the 18th prince's residence, and if anything happened, he would immediately inform Yang Zhaokai. Today, he was guarding the quasi-emperor tokens as usual. Who would have thought that the top token would actually shatter? One had to know. That shattered token was Zhou Jiaming's. Zhou Jiaming was a peak 3rd-level quasi-emperor and the most promising existence in the 18th prince's residence to advance to 4th-level quasi-emperor. He's dead? The heaven-receiving realm martial artist's legs trembled at the thought. The competition for the position of crown prince had just begun, and a peak 3rd-level quasi-emperor had died in battle. This was not a good sign. Furthermore, even a peak 3rd-level quasi-emperor had died. Wouldn't they, who had yet to reach 4th-level quasi-emperor, also suffer? Bastard! Hearing the heaven-receiving realm martial artist's stammering words, how could Qin He not guess what had happened? Yang Zhaokai, follow me to the 5th prince's residence. You must protect Bai Yutian no matter what. Qin He clenched his fists and said fiercely. No problem. Yang Zhaokai endured the pain all over his body and said through gritted teeth, if Yang Yuming dares to kill Bai Yutian, I will not coexist with him. Swish! Swish! The next moment, Yang Zhaokai and Qin He rose from the ground and rushed toward the 5th prince's residence. Ning Yu was unaware of what had happened in the 18th prince's residence. However, even if he knew, he would just laugh it off, because to him, the most important thing was to interrogate the white-robed martial artist, who was also the Bai Yutian that Yang Zhaokai and the others had mentioned. A 4th-level quasi-emperor was very useful. Ning Yu's thinking was very simple. If the white-robed martial artist was willing to submit to him, then he would naturally spare the white-robed martial artist and even give him a few drops of great emperor's spiritual liquid. However, if the white-robed martial artist did not know what was good for him, then he would not waste any more words and would directly kill the white-robed martial artist. You have two choices now. One, submit to me, and the other, die. Ning Yu's words were very direct. He gently moved his right foot away from the white-robed martial artist's chest and said calmly, You have 3 seconds to consider. Beep, beep, beep. 3 seconds passed in a flash. Speak. Ning Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the white-robed martial artist. What's your choice? Bai Yutian bit his lips as if he was in some kind of intense struggle. He really wanted to submit to Ning Yu because he could live if he did so. However, he was afraid that Yang Zhaokai would harm him. After all, apart from Qin He, Yang Zhaokai also had a high-level quasi-emperor from the Night Soul Palace behind him. Was there a high-level quasi-emperor behind Ning Yu? Bai Yutian wanted to ask, but he did not dare to. Ning Yu was decisive in killing and had tyrannical strength. Chapter 25:36. He took a deep breath. Bai Yutian clenched his teeth and said in a deep voice, I am willing to submit to you, but I have a condition. You cannot restrict my personal freedom. You have no choice. Ning Yu shrugged and said indifferently, If you want to submit, open your mind. If not, I will send you to hell. Ning Yu would not waste time with Bai Yutian here. His sharp senses had already discovered the two people outside the 5th prince's residence. Yang Zhaokai, Qin He. The two of them came here at this time. Their intentions were clear. They definitely wanted to save the white-robed cultivator. Although Sun Luan was controlling the formation and dealing with Yang Zhaokai, activating the formation consumed a large amount of 2 realm stones. It would not be worth it to activate it for a long time. Therefore, Ningyu did not want to waste time. If the white-robed cultivator submitted, he would have another rank 4 quasi-emperor fighter. If he did not submit, he would have another rank 4 quasi-emperor corpse. No matter how he looked at it, it was not a loss. I submit. Bai Yutian clenched his teeth and said. As he spoke, Bai Yutian completely relaxed his mind. Swish! A stream of soul power flew out of Ningyu's body and entered Bai Yotian's body, going dormant. Controlling Bai Yutian was not like controlling Yang Zhaokai. This was because Bai Yutian did not have a terrifying force in his body and could not resist his soul power. Yang Zhaokai was different. Ningyu could cause some trouble for Yang Zhaokai, but as long as he did not force the terrifying force out of Yang Zhaokai's body, Ningyu would not be able to make Yang Zhaokai submit. It's over. Feeling the additional connection with Ningyu, Bai Yotian's eyes dimmed. So you're called Bai Yutian. After controlling Bai Yutian, Ningyu naturally knew his name. Let's go. Follow me to see your old friend. Ningyu waved his hand and walked out of the 5th prince's residence. Behind him, Ao Xing and Ning Lu followed closely. Bai Yutian hesitated for a moment before following closely behind him. In any case, he had already submitted to Ningyu. If he didn't go out with him now, Ningyu would probably make things difficult for him. Sun Luan, do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Outside the 5th prince's residence, Qin clenched his fists tightly and said to Sun Luan fiercely, ask Yang Yuming and Ningyu to come out. If they don't hand over Bai Yutian today, I will definitely overturn the prince's mansion. Humph! How arrogant! With the array formation, Sun Luan was much more confident. He scoffed. This is the 5th prince's residence, not the 18th prince's residence. The 5th prince is currently in closed-door cultivation. Those who have nothing to do with it had better scram. Scram? Ha ha ha! Yang Zhaokai threw his head back and laughed wildly. You talk to a prince like that. Aren't you afraid that your family will be exterminated? Don't use these things to scare me. I, Sun Luan, am not one to be scared. Sun Luan didn't budge an inch. Similarly, he said coldly, if you guys don't leave now, I will mobilize the array formation to kill you. You dare. I will stand here and see how you kill me. Yang Zhaokai took a step forward and said, go. Sun Luan was not that kind of pushover. He had already contacted Yang Yuming. Yang Yuming only had one instruction. Listen to Ning Yu's instructions. And Ning Yu had just sent him a message, telling him to teach Yang Zhaokai a lesson. Hence, Sun Luan flicked his wrist and mobilized the energy in the array formation on the spot, blasting at Yang Zhaokai. My God, you're for real. Yang Zhaokai's expression changed drastically. The 5th prince's residence's array formation was not only full of defensive power, but also very powerful. Yang Zhaokai had only advanced to the peak of the heaven receiving realm. Naturally, he couldn't withstand it. Bang! Beside Yang Zhaokai, Qin clenched his right hand into a fist and suddenly punched out, helping Yang Zhaokai block this energy attack. The energy dissipated. Qin said coldly, Sun Luan, you dare to attack the 18th prince. Today, I will kill you. Otherwise, any Tom, Dick, or Harry will dare to disrespect the 18th prince. As he spoke, Qin clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out again. Chi! The power of an early-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor's attack was extremely powerful. Sun Luan was only a rank 1 quasi-emperor. How could he withstand Qin attack? However, Sun Luan was not afraid in the slightest. He looked at Qin with his head held high and chest puffed out. If you kill me, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave this place. Haha, arrogant indeed. I see that you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Fine, I'll know. Qin smiled faintly. Just as he was about to mock him, his expression changed, and he hurriedly withdrew his fist. because Qin keen perception discovered that there were a total of 3 auras in the surroundings that were not weaker than his, locking onto him. The combined strength of the owners of these 3 auras was around rank 4 quasi-emperor. Even, he was very familiar with the owner of one of the auras. It was none other than the person that Bai Tian and the others wanted to kill, Ningyu. Pa! 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 Seeing that Qin withdrew his fist, Ningyu walked out of the 5th prince's residence. He clapped his hands and said with a smile, "I didn't expect to see you guys again. It's really fate." Subsequently, Ningyu turned and nodded at Sun Lun. "Deactivate the formation. There's no need to activate it." "Yes." Sun Lun glared at Qin one last time before entering the 5th prince's residence and deactivating the formation. What fate? Let go of Bai Tian. Yang Zhaokai did not care whether Sun Lun went to deactivate the formation. He remembered his purpose of coming this time, to save Bai Tian. After all, he had 2 middle-stage quasi-emperor supporters, Qin He and Bai Tian. Neither could be missing. Otherwise, his chances of winning the arena battle 2 days later would be slimmer. Let Bai Tian go. The corners of Ningyu's mouth curled up. He said indifferently, "If Bai Tian wants to go with you, I won't stop him. But I'm afraid he doesn't want to go with you." "Doesn't want to go with me? What do you mean?" Yang Zhaokai vaguely felt that something was wrong. How could Bai Tian not want to leave with him? He only had 2 rank 4 quasi-emperors on his side. He treated Bai Tian very well and gave him all the resources first, even more so than Qin He. Under such circumstances, was Bai Tian really not willing to go with him? Sha sha sha. Bai Tian walked out from behind Ningyu. 18th Prince, I thank you for everything you've done for me. But to each his own, a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. I hope you won't make things difficult for me. Bai Tian stood beside Ningyu and said calmly, "You should go back first and prepare for the competition 2 days later. Don't fail miserably in the competition." Yang Zhaokai's mouth opened slightly. He did not expect Bai Tian to say such a thing to him. "Bastard." Yang Zhaokai stomped his right foot on the ground and said fiercely, "Bai Tian, I've treated you well. How dare you betray me?" Chapter 25:37. You. Hearing Bai Tian's words, Yang Zhaokai was so angry that he stuttered. Actually, on the way here, Yang Zhaokai had thought of many possibilities. For example, Bai Tian had been killed by Ningyu and imprisoned by Ningyu. But he hadn't expected this result. Bai Tian hadn't been killed by Ningyu, and he hadn't been imprisoned by Ningyu. Instead, he had surrendered to Ningyu. He had never expected this to happen. Looking at Bai Tian coldly, Yang Zhaokai said in a deep voice, "I have no problem with you surrendering to others. But since you surrendered to Ningyu, I have to teach you a lesson." As he spoke, Yang Zhaokai took out a golden crystal ball from his bosom. Shaking the crystal ball, Yang Zhaokai said, "You have 2 choices now. First, kill Ningyu as a proof of allegiance and pledge your allegiance to me. Second, I'll crush the crystal ball and shatter your internal organs. Don't go overboard." Bai Tian's face turned ugly. In order to prevent anyone from disobeying Bai Tian, the high-level quasi-emperor from Night Spirit Palace had left a wisp of soul power in his and Qin He's bodies. As long as Yang Zhaokai crushed the crystal ball, the soul power in his body would explode and destroy his internal organs. His internal organs were shattered. Even if he could survive, his fate would be very miserable. So when Yang Zhaokai took out the crystal ball, Bai Tian panicked. Although he was panicking, Bai Tian didn't show it. While dealing with Yang Zhaokai, he contacted Ningyu and asked for help. "Help me snatch the crystal ball. Otherwise, Yang Zhaokai will use the crystal ball to make me hesitate." "No problem." Ningyu was happy to help. Since Bai Tian was so afraid of the crystal ball, it meant that the crystal ball was Bai Tian's weakness. However, Ningyu didn't completely trust Bai Tian. He started to contact the soul power in Bai Tian's body and secretly investigate. Looks like Bai Tian didn't lie to me. When Ningyu discovered a hidden strand of soul force in Bai Tian's body, his expression turned solemn. He knew that Bai Tian wasn't lying to him. The reason for that was because there was a strand of soul power hidden within by Yotian's body. Although his soul force was hidden quite deeply, it was still discovered by him. Ha ha ha. Yang Zhaokai threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then he said coldly, "What do you mean by leaving a way out when doing things? You've already betrayed me, so it's only natural that I kill you." Immediately after, Yang Zhaokai exerted some strength in his palm. Ka ka ka. The golden crystal ball let out a cracking sound, as if it was about to shatter. Shio! At this moment, a shadow suddenly appeared out of thin air and rushed towards the golden crystal ball in Yang Zhaokai's hand. Qinhe! Yang Zhaokai seemed to have expected this. He shouted in a low voice and said coldly, "Do it! All right." The energy in Qinhe's body converged on his fist, and he punched out with a backhand. Bang! The two fists collided. A crisp sound rang out. Qinhe and the figure that appeared out of thin air retreated several steps at the same time. In this blow, both sides were evenly matched. Ao Xing, the martial artist fighting with Qin, he was not Ning Lu, but Ao Xing. Xiao! Ao Xing attracted Qinhe's attention, while Ning Lu rushed out of thin air again. While Yang Zhaokai was not paying attention, he suddenly snatched away the golden crystal ball in his hand. My crystal ball! Seeing the crystal ball in his hand being snatched away, Yang Zhaokai's expression changed drastically. With the crystal ball, he could control Bai Yutian and was not afraid that Bai Yutian would seek refuge with Ningyu and Yang Yuming. But now, with the crystal ball snatched away, Bai Yutian would definitely seek refuge with Ningyu and Yang Yuming. It was not scary to lose a rank 4 quasi-emperor. What was scary was that the enemy had one more rank 4 quasi-emperor. Yang Zhaokai's expression was so cold that he wanted to kill someone. What the hell is this? Here, Ning Lu casually threw the crystal ball to Ning Yu and then entered the void again, disappearing. His strength. Qinhe's gaze stared fixedly at the place where Ning Lu disappeared. What in the world was going on? Just over a day's time had passed. Why did Ning Yu, Ning Lu, and Ao Xing, these three people's strength improve so much? Qinhe's entire person became somewhat unwell. Over a day's time, their strength improved by a major level. If it were before, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. But now, the truth was placed in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. Go! Losing the crystal ball, Yang Zhaokai knew that he had lost today's confrontation. Hence, he suddenly turned around, wanting to leave. But how could Ningyu let Yang Zhaokai leave just like this? He took a step out, blocking in front of Yang Zhaokai, and said, "Since you're here, don't be in such a hurry to leave. If I don't leave, don't tell me I'm staying to celebrate the new year." Yang Zhaokai said coldly, "Oh, it's not to the extent of staying to celebrate the new year. What I mean is, you can leave some things behind," Ningyu said with a faint smile. Yang Zhaokai suddenly came to the fifth prince's residence and displayed his might for a period of time. If he was allowed to leave just like this, where would Yang Yuming's prestige be in the future? Yang Yuming had just taken back the fifth prince's residence. At this time, it was time to follow up on his victory and force Yang Zhaokai to lower his head. If he missed this opportunity, there would not be such a shop anymore. Leave what behind? Yang Zhaokai was also very sensible. He knew that with Ningyu around, he had to leave something behind today. Otherwise, Ningyu would not let him leave. And 10 emperor rank medicinal pills it is. Ningyu thought about it and said, on Yang Zhaokai's body, Ningyu sensed a strong medicinal fragrance. A medicinal fragrance meant that the medicinal pills were emperor rank. Ningyu refined 100 drops of emperor's spiritual liquid, and his cultivation advanced to peak rank 2 quasi-emperor. If he wanted to refine the emperor's spiritual liquid to improve his cultivation, it would probably take a very long time, and the contest for the position of crown prince would begin in 2 days. Ningyu could not wait that long. If he had an emperor rank medicinal pill now, Ningyu was confident that he could break through to rank 3 quasi-emperor within 2 days. Don't even think about it. Yang Zhaokai's pupils constricted, and he said angrily, "Kill me. Even if you kill me, I will not give you 10 emperor-rank medicinal pills. Kill you? Ha, why would I do that kind of thing? Ningyu smiled again, then patted by Yo Tian's shoulder and said, I found a crystal ball for you. Shouldn't you show off? This, Bai Yutian hesitated, because he knew what Ningyu meant. It was not to the extent of killing Yang Zhaokai, but it was necessary to teach Yang Zhaokai a lesson and force Yang Zhaokai to hand over the emperor-rank medicinal pills. Why? Is there a problem? Ningyu was puzzled. No problem. Bai Yutian hurriedly said. How could Bai Yutian dare to say there was a problem at this time? Even if there was a problem, there was no problem. Sha! He moved. Bai Yutian walked towards Yang Zhaokai step by step. Bai Yutian walked very slowly, and he took a minute to cover the distance of a dozen steps. A minute later. Chapter 25:38. Good, very good, very good. Mobile phone. Yang Zhaokai took a deep breath and regained his composure. This was in front of the fifth prince's residence, Yang Yuming's territory, with Ningyu and Ao Xing around. Even if Qin he was a rank 4 quasi-emperor, he would not be able to gain any advantage. Completely shedding all pretense of cordiality at this time was an extremely unwise move for him. An emperor-level medicinal pill. He could take it out. He flicked his wrist. An emperor-level medicinal pill appeared in Yang Zhaokai's hand. Waving the emperor-level medicinal pill in his hand, Yang Zhaokai said coldly, Bai Yutian, I can give you the medicinal pill, but you have to kneel down and kowtow to me. Crash! Yang Zhaokai's words immediately caused a commotion among the surrounding martial artists. Kneel? Bai Yutian was a rank 4 quasi-emperor. To make a rank 4 quasi-emperor kneel, and in front of so many people. To think that Yang Zhaokai could say it. Everyone guessed that unless Bai Yutian was an idiot, he absolutely would not kneel to Yang Zhaokai. Evidently, everyone guessed correctly. Bai Yutian was not an idiot. He was a rank 4 quasi-emperor. He had dignity. Humph! Don't be so shameless. Bai Yutian snorted coldly and said fiercely, Today, hand over the emperor-level medicinal pill, and I can let you go. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Boom! As he spoke, Bai Yutian suddenly displayed the aura of a rank 4 quasi-emperor, frantically pressing towards Yang Zhaokai. Chi! How terrifying was the aura of a rank 4 quasi-emperor. Yang Zhaokai only had peak heaven-receiving realm cultivation and naturally could not withstand it. Cracking sounds came from his knees, making Yang Zhaokai feel like he was about to kneel. Courting death. Seeing Bai Yutian so impudent, Qin he snorted coldly, wanting to stop him. However, just as Qin he was about to make a move, two auras locked onto him. Ao Xing, Ninglu. Without a doubt, these two auras came from Ao Xing and Ninglu. Whether it was Ao Xing or Ninglu, in a one-on-one situation, they could perfectly suppress Qin he. With the two of them present, how would Qin he dare to make a move? Therefore, Yang Zhaokai bent his knees, gradually wanting to kneel. Enough. At this moment, Ningyu waved his hand at Bai Yutian and said indifferently, You can leave first. I'll talk to the 18th prince. Yes. Bai Yutian immediately withdrew his aura and responded, retreating behind Ningyu. Bai Yutian panicked. After all, Yang Zhaokai was the 18th prince. He had openly attacked Yang Zhaokai in front of so many people. If word got out, the sovereign emperor might punish him. Now that Ningyu had stepped forward, he could use this opportunity to step down. 18th prince, take out the emperor-grade elixir. I don't want to repeat myself. Ningyu stretched out his right hand and said to Yang Zhaokai. Ningyu was different from Bai Yutian. As he spoke, he guided the soul force within Yang Zhaokai's body. Although he wasn't able to completely control Yang Zhaokai, but as long as he didn't stop using his soul power, Yang Zhaokai would show a pained expression and even roll on the ground. Here, Yang Zhaokai knew this. Therefore, the moment Ningyu activated his soul power, he flicked his wrist and threw the Emperor-grade elixir in his hand to Ningyu. Piak! Ningyu had sharp eyes and nimble hands. firmly catching the Emperor-grade medicinal pill. Not bad. Sensing the terrifying medicinal power contained in the elixir, Ningyu nodded in satisfaction. With this elixir, there was a high possibility that Ningyu could break through to the rank 3 quasi-emperor realm within 2 days. I can leave now, right? Seeing that Ningyu caught the Emperor-grade elixir, Yang Zhaokai looked at Ningyu coldly and said in a deep voice, "There's still time. We'll meet again." Sha sha sha. His feet moved. Yang Zhaokai turned and left. Actually, Yang Zhaokai really wanted to stay. At the very least, he wanted to see Yang Yuming. However, looking at Ningyu's attitude, he would probably be extorted by Ningyu if he stayed. Leaving was the best choice. Did I say you can leave? Ningyu accepted the Emperor-grade elixir and crossed his arms in front of his chest. 10 Emperor-grade elixir. I said before that as long as you take out 10 Emperor-grade elixir, you can leave. Now, there's only one. Don't you know how to count? Don't go too far. Yang Zhaokai was so angry that his nose was crooked. Did he really think he was easy to bully? 10 Emperor-grade elixir. Not to mention that he did not have it. Even if he did, he would never take it out to Ningyu. One could imagine. How powerful would Ningyu, who had 10 Emperor-grade elixir, be in 2 days' time? Right now, Qini might not be Ningyu's match. 2 days later, it would probably be even more difficult. Sorry, I'm not going too far. Ningyu shrugged and continued. It's fine if you don't want to hand over the remaining 9 elixir. Go, I won't force you. Yang Zhaokai was slightly stunned. If Ningyu flew into a rage at him, he would take it as a matter of course. But now, Ningyu's tone was gentle. Not only was he not angry, but he was also very magnanimous. This made him a little uncomfortable. Go. However, even if he couldn't get used to it, Yang Zhaokai would not stay foolishly. He glared at Bai Yutian fiercely and then left quickly with Qin He. A long time after Yang Zhaokai left, Bai Yutian said cautiously, "Ningyu, why did you let Yang Zhaokai leave? I can feel that he has at least 2 more Emperor-grade elixir." Since he had fallen out with Yang Zhaokai, Bai Yutian naturally hoped that Yang Zhaokai would fight to the death with Ningyu. It would be best if Yang Zhaokai was killed by Ningyu, because only in this way, Yang Zhaokai would not find trouble with him. Why didn't you say so just now? Ningyu glanced at Bai Yutian and said calmly, "Yang Zhaokai hasn't gone far. Go and call him back." Bai Yutian was dumbfounded. He had just said it casually. He did not have the guts to really call Yang Zhaokai back. At this time, Qin He and Yang Zhaokai were in a fit of anger. If he went over, Qin He would probably attack him without hesitation. In a one-on-one situation, he was not Qin He's match. "If you're not going, then shut up." Ningyu berated. Then he frowned slightly, secretly thinking about how to resist the force in Yang Zhaokai's body. After a close observation just now, Ningyu roughly judged the power of the force in Yang Zhaokai's body. Rank 5 Quasi-Emperor. Unless his cultivation could rise to rank 5 Quasi-Emperor, he absolutely could not shake the force in Yang Zhaokai's body and could not achieve absolute control over Yang Zhaokai. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu muttered, "Rank 5 Quasi-Emperor, there's still a long way to go." After saying this, Ningyu immediately returned to the 5th prince's residence. Inside the martial proclamation hall, having just obtained an Emperor-grade elixir, he definitely had to cultivate for a while first. 2 days later was the contest for the position of Crown Prince. At that time, if he could not advance to rank 3 Quasi-Emperor, he could probably only let Ao Xing or Ning Lu take action. Ao Xing was a true dragon, and Ning Lu was a world tree. If the two of them took action, some accidents would inevitably occur. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Ningyu would definitely take action himself. He absolutely would not let the two of them be exposed. This book came from Chapter 2539. At the same time, on the phone, the 18th prince's residence. As soon as he returned to the study, Yang Zhaokai suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, and his aura dropped to the Dao domain realm. "Are you all right?" Qin He patted Yang Zhaokai's back and said, "Ningyu is indeed a big problem. His strength, is no weaker than mine. It's fine. Yang Zhaokai wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly, I've decided to give that thing to you so that you can break through to peak rank 4 Quasi-Emperor as soon as possible. Really? Qin He's face lit up with ecstasy. He was a rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. The reason why he followed Yang Zhaokai and followed him was because he wanted that thing. Now that Yang Zhaokai had taken the initiative to say it, how could he not be excited? Of course. Yang Zhaokai's lips curled up, and he took out a jade bottle from his bosom. He looked carefully. There was a blood-red pill in the jade bottle. The Red Skull Pill. The so-called Red Skull Pill was refined from the blood of thousands of experts, and it had an extremely powerful effect. If an ordinary Quasi-Emperor swallowed it and completely refined it, they could easily advance to the mid-stage Quasi-Emperor realm. Qin, he was an early rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. If he swallowed the Red Skull Pill, he could definitely break through to peak rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. You can leave. I want to be alone. Yang Zhaokai casually tossed the jade bottle and waved his hand. Yes. Qin, he caught the jade bottle and left the study. Buzz. As soon as Qin, he stepped out of the study, a black figure appeared in front of Yang Zhaokai. Haha, Yang Zhaokai. Looks like you're in trouble. The figure smiled and said to Yang Zhaokai, Have you thought it through? Do you want me to fuse with you? No need. Yang Zhaokai's face turned cold as he said in a deep voice, Just mind your own business. Don't expose your identity when the time comes. You should know that the third young master has already died a tragic death. I think the Blood Sky Battle Emperor wouldn't want to see his second son killed. It's useless for you to provoke me like this. I'm not the same as that piece of trash. Fine, you can come find me after you've thought it through. The illusory figure chuckled. Soon after, his figure flashed and disappeared into the void. After the illusory figure disappeared, Yang Zhaokai clenched his fists tightly and a cold expression appeared on his face. Ningyu, Yang Yumming by Yu Tian. Yang Zhaokai took a deep breath and said, 2 days from now will be the day you die. Boom. Ningyu had no idea what was happening in the 18th prince's residence. After he obtained the emperor-grade medicinal pill from Yang Zhaokai, he immediately returned to the Martial Proclamation Hall and started devouring it. The medicinal efficacy of an emperor-rank medicinal pill was extremely terrifying. As soon as he swallowed the emperor-ranked medicinal pill, Ningyu felt like he was about to advance to rank 3 Quasi-Emperor. However, Ningyu did not attempt to break through to the 3rd rank Quasi-Emperor realm. To him, using emperor-ranked medicinal pills to stabilize and strengthen his physical body was more important than directly advancing to the 3rd rank Quasi-Emperor realm. The 3rd transformation of the Divine God of Battle had allowed his physical body to reach the peak of the 3rd rank Quasi-Emperor realm. If he could use this emperor-ranked medicinal pill to strengthen his physical body to the 4th rank Quasi-Emperor realm, his strength would be stronger than directly advancing to the 3rd rank Quasi-Emperor realm. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. On the 3rd day, a dull sound suddenly came from Ningyu's body. Bang! Following the dull sound, Ningyu's physical body was strengthened to the 4th rank Quasi-Emperor realm. This meant that Ningyu had reached the 4th transformation of the Divine God of Battle. However, a single emperor-rank medicinal pill had only allowed Ningyu to reach the initial stage of the 4th transformation of the Divine God of Battle. He was still a distance away from reaching the middle finger. The 4th transformation of the Divine God of Battle was similar to a mid-rank Quasi-Emperor realm. The first 3 transformations were the initial stage, the middle 3 transformations were the intermediate stage, and the last 3 transformations were the advanced stage. A small improvement would only increase one's strength slightly, but major improvement would result in a qualitative change in one's strength. Very good. Ningyu nodded his head in satisfaction as he sensed the changes in his physical body. Consuming a single emperor-ranked medicinal pill to cultivate the Divine God of Battle body to the 4th transformation of the Divine God of Battle had exceeded Ningyu's expectations. After all, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to improve the Divine God of Battle body in a short period of time. Creek. As soon as Ningyu cultivated the divine god of battle body to the fourth transformation of the divine god of battle, the entrance of the martial proclamation hall was slowly pushed open. Following this, Yang Yiming walked in. First rank quasi-emperor. Ningyu opened his eyes and looked at Yang Yiming with a slightly surprised expression. He remembered it clearly. When he had separated from Yang Yiming's cultivation had only reached the Dao domain realm. Furthermore, Yang Yiming had only reached the Dao domain realm with a few drops of Emperor spiritual liquid. Now that Yang Yiming had reached the first rank quasi-emperor realm, Ningyu was shocked. Ningyu, this is an emperor-ranked medicinal pill. Yang Yiming went straight to Ningyu and took out a silver-white medicinal pill. Thank you for your help during this period of time. If you have something to say, just say it. Ningyu took the silver-white medicinal pill and said unhappily. Ningyu had already guessed what Yang Yiming wanted to do. This was because he had communicated with Sun Luan before this. Sun Luan was afraid that Yang Yiming would find it difficult to speak, so he told Ningyu the rules of the Crown Prince contest in advance. At this moment, Yang Yiming took out an emperor-ranked medicinal pill. His intention was self-evident. Ningyu would not stand on ceremony with Yang Yiming. As long as he had another emperor-rank medicinal pill, he would definitely be able to cultivate to the third-rank quasi-emperor realm. When the time came, a third-rank quasi-emperor, combined with the devouring Great Tao and the fourth transformation of the divine god of battle, his overall strength would reach a terrifying level. I want you to help me fight for the position of Crown Prince. Yang Yiming clenched his teeth and said, the rules of the Crown Prince contest are to let the princes fight each other first. The two princes that one will be allowed to participate in the arena battle. However, the advisors of the princes will be the ones to participate in the arena battle. The winner will be the Crown Prince. Understood. Ningyu patted Yang Yiming's shoulder and said, if there's nothing else, you should go back first and try to raise your cultivation by a small level, in case I don't have a chance to help you. Ningyu saw everything clearly. There was still a portion of the medicinal energy in Yang Yiming's body that had yet to be digested. Once the medicinal energy was completely absorbed, Yang Yiming's cultivation would at least rise to the first-rank quasi-emperor realm. After all, the effects of an emperor-rank medicinal pill would not be that little. Thank you. Yang Yiming knew that Ningyu did not like to beat around the bush. He nodded and left the martial proclamation hall. After Yang Yiming left, Ningyu glanced at Ning Lu and Ao Xing, who were resting with their eyes closed. Without hesitation, he tossed the silver-white medicinal pill into his mouth. Crack! The medicinal pill shattered, and a terrifying medicinal energy flowed down his throat and into Ningyu's abdomen. There was only one day left until the Crown Prince contest. Evidently, Ningyu wanted to use this day to break through to the third-rank quasi-emperor realm. This book came from Chapter 2540. While Ningyu, Yang Yiming, and the rest were refining the emperor-grade medicinal pills. Please search Divine Wind City, Fourth Prince's residence. Boom. Yang Chong suddenly opened his eyes, and a terrifying aura shot into the sky from his body. Late-stage, first-rank quasi-emperor. Fourth Prince Yang Chong's cultivation had reached the late-stage, first-rank quasi-emperor realm. Ninth Prince's residence. Rumble. Yang Shui clenched his right fist and punched out. In an instant, the void shattered, and countless spatial cracks appeared. Peak first-rank quasi-emperor. Ninth Prince Yang Shui's cultivation was even more terrifying than Yang Chong's. He had reached the peak first-rank quasi-emperor realm. Great! 13th Prince's residence. Yang Qinghao felt the changes in his body and shouted. Compared to the 4th and 9th princes, the 13th Prince Yang Qinghao was even more terrifying. Rank 2nd rank quasi-emperor. Yang Qinghao refined 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills, and his cultivation rose from the peak heaven receiving realm to the early stage 2nd rank quasi-emperor realm. This happened in the residences of many princes in Divine Wind City. Apart from the 4th, 9th, and 13th princes, there were at least 3 other princes who had broken through the limit and reached the quasi-emperor realm. Rumor had it, the crown prince would receive a lot of resources, and the emperor would even reward the crown prince with some treasures. For the sake of the position of crown prince, all the princes and the factions behind them went crazy. Open strife and veiled strife continued. About everything. Ning Yu and Yang Yiming didn't care about it all. No matter how strong the others were, it was their business. They could only face everything calmly when they became stronger. At that time, no matter how strong the enemies were, they could deal with them easily. Time passed. Soon, the third day passed. When the sun rose on the fourth day, two terrifying auras rushed out from the fifth prince's residence. Fortunately, Sun Luan activated the formation in advance and blocked the two auras. Congratulations. In Yang Yiming's room, Sun Luan stood respectfully with a joyful expression. Young Master has advanced to late stage, first rank quasi-emperor. You'll definitely win this battle. I didn't expect it either. Yang Yiming took a deep breath. His emotions were somewhat visible. To be honest, originally, Yang Yiming thought that he could advance to mid-stage, first-order quasi-emperor at most. After all, he did not have much emperor rank elixir left in his body, only less than half. But now, Yang Yiming felt incredulous that he had directly advanced to late first-order quasi-emperor. By the way, was that aura Ningyu's? After being happy for a while, Yang Yiming asked. Because he was focused on cultivating, he could sense the aura just now, but he wasn't particularly familiar with it. If he asked Sun Luan now, he should be able to figure out the other party's identity. That's right, it's Ningyu. Sun Luan nodded and only closed the array formation when Ningyu's aura dissipated. He should be a rank 3 quasi-emperor. After some thought, Sun Luan said, when Ningyu was a peak rank 2 quasi-emperor, he could already challenge a rank 4 quasi-emperor. Now that he has advanced to rank 3 quasi-emperor, doesn't that mean that even a mid-rank for quasi-emperor or a late rank for quasi-emperor might not be Ningyu's match? All right, good, very good. Yang Yiming was overjoyed. If Ningyu was strong, he would have a chance to seize the position of crown prince. If Ningyu was not strong, he would only be cannon fodder and would not be able to pass the second round. Come, let's go see Ningyu. Yang Yiming took a deep breath and moved his feet, heading straight for the martial proclamation hall. Not long after, Yang Yiming arrived before the martial proclamation hall. Creak! Yang Yiming had just arrived before the hall when the doors slowly opened from the inside. Ningyu, Ao Xing, and Ning Lu walked out side by side. I can't believe it. Feeling the terrifying aura from Ningyu and the others, Yang Yiming could not help but curse even though he was prepared. Originally, Yang Yiming thought, since Ningyu had already advanced to early first-order quasi-emperor, his strength was definitely stronger than Ao Xing and Ning Lu. However, now that he saw Ao Xing and Ning Lu, Yang Yiming finally understood. It was not that Ningyu was not strong, but that Ao Xing and Ning Lu were too strong. Ningyu was an early first-order quasi-emperor, while Ao Xing and Ning Lu were peak third-order quasi-emperors. Previously, Ao Xing and Ning Lu were only late first-order quasi-emperors. After 3 days of cultivation, their cultivation had increased by a small level. Late first-order quasi-emperor, not bad. Ningyu smiled at Yang Yiming. I thought you could only advance to early first-order quasi-emperor. I didn't expect you to advance to late first-order quasi-emperor. It's all thanks to the Emperor's spiritual liquid you gave me, Yang Yiming said. Don't bother with these empty words. Let's go. The fight for the position of Crown Prince is about to begin. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, yes. Yang Yiming nodded, then turned and led Ningyu and the others towards the Imperial Palace. This time, the fight for the position of Crown Prince would take place in the Imperial Palace. Because of this, the Celestial Emperor even personally ordered people to build a huge palace specifically for the purpose of the duels. The palace was called the Crown Prince Hall. The meaning was self-evident. The final victor would be the Crown Prince of the Divine Wind Empire. At this time, many martial artists had already gathered in front of the Crown Prince Hall. Among them, the 4th Prince Yang Chong, the 9th Prince Yang Shui, the 13th Prince Yang Qinghao, the 18th Prince Yang Zhaokai, and the other princes were all scattered in front of the Crown Prince Hall. Before the emperor arrived, no one dared to enter the Crown Prince Hall. Fourth brother, I hope you will show mercy in the fight later. Yang Shui smiled at Yang Chong. As they spoke, a cold light shot out of Yang Shui's eyes, moving around Yang Chong. A while later, Yang Shui retracted his gaze. He had a rough idea. Yang Chong's cultivation was only late First Order Quasi-Emperor. As for his cultivation, he was a peak First Order Quasi-Emperor. If they really fought, he had a high chance of winning. However, there were too many variables in the arena battle. Yang Shui did not dare to guarantee 100% victory. Therefore, before coming this time, his mother's faction had sent people to hide his cultivation. In the eyes of outsiders, he was not a peak First Order Quasi-Emperor, but an early First Order Quasi-Emperor. Being provoked by Yang Shui, the fourth prince Yang Chong smiled and did not say anything. To be honest, although Yang Chong did not know what Yang Shui's cultivation was, his opponent was not Yang Shui. Of course, it was not Yang Qinghao, who had advanced to Second Order Quasi-Emperor. It was the 18th prince, Yang Zhaokai. Yang Zhaokai closed his eyes, as if he had merged with the void. On the surface, Yang Zhaokai's cultivation was at most peak heaven receiving realm. He had not even reached Quasi-Emperor. However, none of the princes dared to underestimate him. After all, everyone knew what happened in front of the fifth prince's residence 2 days ago. At that time, Yang Zhaokai did not even see Yang Yuming before he left dejectedly. Before he left, he was forced to hand over an emperor-level elixir. Now that the Crown Prince contest was about to begin, Yang Zhaokai must be holding his breath and wanted to compete with Yang Yuming in the arena battle. This book came from Chapter 2541. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Another few minutes passed. Please search, accompanied by a few rustling sounds. A group of 5 martial artists walked over from afar. Ning Yu and Yang Yuming were at the front, followed by Ao Xing, Ning Lu, and Sun Luan. Including him, there were only 5 people from Yang Yuming's side in the contest for the Crown Prince position. There was not even a rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. Even so, none of the princes dared to underestimate Yang Yuming. After all, Ao Xing and Ning Lu could deter Qin He. As for Ning Yu, it was even more exaggerated. He could make rank 4 Quasi-Emperor by Yutian submit, which was enough to show how terrifying he was. However, Ning Yu did not choose to let Bai Yutian follow. He had left Bai Yutian in the fifth prince's residence to prevent anyone from taking drastic measures to destroy the fifth prince's residence while they were fighting for the position of Crown Prince. Because he had a travel light, Ning Yu did not let Lin Lang and Xiao Duanyao follow, but left them in the fifth prince's residence. Or rather, Ning Yu left all the martial artists in the Red Demon Sword in the fifth prince's residence. In this way, he could fully unleash the power of the Red Demon Sword when he fought without any scruples. Fifth brother, you're a little late. Yang Chong looked around, seeing that no one was looking for trouble with Yang Yuming. He stepped forward and stretched out a hand. I heard that you obtained a large amount of Emperor's spiritual liquid in the secret realm of a Quasi-Emperor. Is this true? Here it comes. Yang Yuming's heart turned cold. He had long known that there would be people making things difficult for him before the contest for the Crown Prince position. But he did not expect. The first to make things difficult for him was Yang Chong. Moreover, Yang Chong used the Emperor's spiritual liquid to make things difficult for him. It should be known, the Emperor's spiritual liquid was something that even high-level Quasi-Emperors coveted. As expected, hearing Yang Chong mention the Emperor's spiritual liquid, the surrounding Quasi-Emperors all turned to look at Yang Yuming, trying to hear more. Unfortunately, it was unknown whether Yang Chong did it on purpose, but he set up a soundproof formation. Under normal circumstances, the soundproofing array formation that Yang Chong laid down definitely could not block the prying of these Quasi-Emperor powerhouses. However, this was in front of the Crown Prince's palace, inside the Divine Wind Empire's imperial palace. The one who set up the soundproof array formation was the fourth prince, Yang Chong. Therefore, these Quasi-Emperors wanted to eavesdrop, but they also had some concerns. Fifth brother, what do you mean by this? At this moment, Yang Chong started to add scenes for himself. His expression changed, and he said in a deep voice, "We're just having a conversation. Why do we need to set up a soundproof array? Don't you want to share the great Emperor's spiritual liquid with us?" Kacha. The last sentence fell. Yang Chong suddenly exerted force and shook open the soundproof array formation. "I didn't expect you to be such a person. Isn't it just a few hundred drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid? I didn't say I wanted it from you. Why did you have to be so mean to me?" Yang Chong looked around and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, please be the judge. The Great Monarch's spirit elixir is good, but we are not unreasonable people. You got a few hundred drops of Great Monarch's spirit elixir, and we only want a dozen drops each. Is that too much?" But Chini opened his mouth and was about to speak when Yang Zhaokai behind him immediately patted his shoulder and said in a low voice, "Don't interfere." Hearing this, Chini thought about it and finally chose to shut up. Ningyu was not a kind person. Since Ningyu did not say anything, it meant that there was going to be a good show to watch. If Ningyu could cheat Yang Zhaokai of an emperor-grade medicinal pill, he could absolutely cheat Yang Chong until he had nothing left. "You want the Great Monarch's spiritual liquid?" Ningyu lightly shook his head at Yang Yumming, indicating that he would settle this matter. Moving his feet, Ningyu came directly in front of Yang Chong and said indifferently, "At your age, your cultivation is only at the late First Order Quasi-Emperor. Aren't you ashamed?" "What did you say?" Yang Chong's eyes widened as if he had heard wrongly. He was the dignified fourth prince. Even if Ningyu was Yang Yumming's strongest advisor, he should not have dared to speak to him like this. Could it be that Ningyu still had some hidden cards up his sleeves? Thinking of this, Yang Chong took a deep breath and said, "I admit that you are very strong, but what can you do even if you are strong?" Yang Yumming obtained a few hundred drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid from the Quasi-Emperor Mysterious Realm. He must take it out and distribute it to everyone. That's right, the fifth prince did obtain a few hundred drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid from the Quasi-Emperor Mysterious Realm. Ningyu admitted straightforwardly. Swoosh! Hearing Ningyu's words, everyone present, including Yang Yumming, was somewhat dumbfounded. However, Yang Yumming was dumbfounded, while the others were pleasantly surprised. Ningyu admitted that Yang Yumming had a few hundred drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid. Didn't that mean that if they pressured Yang Yumming, they could get a few drops? Even a few drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid would be very useful to them. They could use Great Monarch's spiritual liquid to raise their cultivation and reconstruct their meridians. But soon, Ningyu changed the topic and said in a clear voice, "Last night, someone snuck into the fifth prince's residence and stole 500 drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid." What? The Great Monarch's spiritual liquid was stolen? Who has the guts to steal in the Divine Wind Empire? Everyone was filled with righteous indignation. Only Yang Zhaokai, who was far away, knew that this was the prelude to Ningyu's scheme. Sure enough, Ningyu came to Yang Chong's side and patted him on the shoulder, saying, "According to my investigation, the person who stole the Great Monarch's spiritual liquid is you." Boom! Compared to the previous sentence, Ningyu's words were even more shocking. Yang Chong snuck into the fifth prince's residence and stole a few hundred drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid? Only a ghost would believe it. Not to mention that Yang Chong was only a first-stage quasi-emperor. Even if he was a fourth-stage quasi-emperor, it would be impossible for him to enter the fifth prince's residence and escape unscathed. Ha ha ha! Yang Chong threw his head back and laughed wildly. His laughter was very arrogant as he said, "Don't you think before you lie? If I had a few hundred drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid, I would definitely carry it with me. Why would I leave it somewhere else?" Well said. Ningyu nodded and said, "You do carry a few drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid with you. You said I have Great Monarch's spiritual liquid? Why would I?" Yang Chong said fiercely. However, halfway through his sentence, Yang Chong's voice stopped abruptly, because Yang Chong discovered that he did have a few drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid on him. Low-grade Great Monarch's spiritual liquid. The Great Monarch's spiritual liquid on Yang Chong was low-grade Great Monarch's spiritual liquid. When Ningyu patted his shoulder, he secretly placed a few drops of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid on him. Previously, in the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm, Ningyu not only obtained thousands of high-grade Great Monarch spiritual liquid, but also many low-grade Great Monarch spiritual liquid. Because the effects of low-grade Great Monarch spiritual liquid were much weaker than high-grade Great Monarch spiritual liquid, Ningyu kept them inside the Red Demon Sword. He did not expect that it would actually be useful now. There really is Great Monarch's spiritual liquid, is what Ningyu said, right? Where did Yangchang get the guts to barge into the Fifth Prince's residence to steal Great Monarch's spiritual liquid? Who can say for sure? Humans die in pursuit of wealth, just as birds die in pursuit of food. Among the many princes, Yangchang's cultivation is only a late first stage quasi-emperor. It's understandable that he would take such a risk for the sake of Great Monarch's spiritual liquid. Everyone discussed animatedly. The wind direction instantly reversed. This book came from Chapter 2542. Don't slander me. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Yangchang's expression changed slightly. However, Yangchang was after all the fourth prince of the Divine Wind Empire, a late First Order quasi-emperor. In this situation, he quickly regained his composure. Taking a deep breath, Yangchang looked coldly at Ningyu and said, "You said that I have the Emperor's spiritual liquid on me. What evidence do you have? Don't tell me you want to search me? Without evidence, I won't search you," Ningyu said indifferently. "Ha ha ha." Yangchang threw his head back and laughed wildly, then said, "You dare to slander me without evidence. I think you're tired of living." Speaking up to here, Yangchang directly turned to stare at Yang Yumming and said fiercely, "You better control your people. Trouble comes from the mouth. If you say there's no, then there's no." Ningyu did not care about Yangchang. He shrugged and said indifferently, "The Emperor's spiritual liquid has all been lost. As for who stole it, I think everyone has a judgment in their hearts." This brother is right. Yang Shui's eyes flickered. He thought about it and finally decided to add insult to injury. He and Yangchang had a competitive relationship. If he could drag Yangchang down now, he would naturally have one less competitor in the arena later. To tell the truth, whether Yangchang stole the Emperor's spiritual liquid or not, Yang Shui did not care at all. He only knew that Ningyu had created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. As long as he could make use of it, he could make Yangchang and Yang Yumming fight first. Yang Shui took a step forward, first pointing at Ningyu, then at Yangchang, and said, "Whether you have the Emperor's spiritual liquid or not, logically speaking, has nothing to do with us. But if you really stole Fifth Brother's Emperor's spiritual liquid, then we'll have a good talk today. Ninth Brother, you want to be my enemy?" Yangchang's face was frighteningly cold. How could he not know what Yang Shui meant? Taking advantage of this gap to sow discord between him and Yang Yumming. No matter who won in the end, one would be kicked out. Be your enemy? No, no, no. I don't want to be your enemy. Yang Shui kept shaking his head and said, "Justice is in the hearts of the people. I have a great Emperor's elixir detection crystal here. As long as you get close to a warrior with great Emperor's elixir, it will automatically glow." Whoosh! During the conversation, Yang Shui flicked his wrist and threw the crystal towards Yangchang. Damn it! Yangchang did not know if the crystal was real or fake, but he was very clear that if the crystal was real, he would not be able to explain himself today. Therefore, a cold light shot out from Yangchang's body, shattering the crystal before it could even get close to him. Gotcha! The shattered crystals fell to the ground continuously. Boom! However, Yangchang had clearly underestimated Yang Shui. Since Yang Shui wanted to scheme against him, he would definitely do it without fail. In front of everyone, the shattered crystal was put back together again. Furthermore, after the crystals were assembled, a pillar of light soared into the sky. Hua! Seeing the light pillar soaring into the sky, the surrounding cultivators were all startled. Originally, they did not believe that Yangchang would be stupid enough to steal the great Emperor's spirit liquid. However, they had no choice but to believe it now. Although some of them were skeptical, most of them chose to believe it. Fifth brother. The pillar of light flashed and quickly disappeared. After the pillar of light disappeared, Yang Shui looked at Yang Yuming and said, "Fourth brother stole your great emperor's spirit liquid. Aren't you going to settle this?" "That's right. I suggest that fourth brother and fifth brother spar first." The 13th prince, Yang Qinghao, agreed. A spar between fourth brother and fifth brother will definitely be very exciting. The 18th prince and Yang Zhaokai also said. The 13th prince and the 18th prince did not participate previously because they were afraid of falling into Ningyu's trap. However, now Yang Shui participated first and drew the fire to himself. Naturally, the 13th prince and the 18th prince had to add fuel to the fire. "All right, fifth brother, I accept your challenge." Yang Chong looked around coldly. Then, he took a deep breath and said sternly, "However, before we spar, I have a condition. Whoever loses must give up the fight for the crown prince position and give the other party an emperor-grade medicinal pill." Yang Yuming did not answer Yang Chong immediately. Sparring right now was not Yang Yuming's true intention. After all, there was going to be an arena battle later. If he fought Yang Chong now, it would obviously benefit others. Furthermore, Yang Yuming knew that if Yang Chong dared to challenge him, it meant that Yang Chong was not weak. Although he could win in a life and death battle, he would still have to pay a price. The princes are of noble status. How about this? Let me play with your advisor. Ningyu would not let Yang Yuming fight. He took a step forward and pointed at the elder behind Yang Chong. "Your advisor is an early-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor and is extremely strong. If I spar with him, the chances of me winning are very low. Therefore, I feel that we should change the condition to 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills." Whoosh! Hearing Ning use words, the surrounding martial artists were somewhat stunned. 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills right off the bat. Could it be that Ningyu thought that he could win for sure? Yang Chong's advisor was an early-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor. Everyone was very clear. After one's cultivation reached the mid-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor, there would be a qualitative leap in one's strength. Ningyu was a rank 3 quasi-emperor. If he really fought with an early-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor, it was very likely that he would not even be able to withstand one move. Good. A hint of excitement appeared in Yang Chong's eyes. Sure enough, he was courting death. "Zhao Wu," Yang Chong said coldly, "go and play with Ningyu. Remember, don't hurt him." "Got it." Zhao Wu nodded and moved his feet. He stopped in front of Ningyu and made an inviting gesture. "Don't be anxious. Ningyu would not fight with Zhao Wu just like that," he said in a clear voice. "Fourth prince, take out 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills first. Only then will I spar with Zhao Wu." "You." Yang Chong's lungs were about to explode. Where is he going to find 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills? Could it be that the sparring with Zhao Wu that Ningyu said was just a stalling tactic? After all, he definitely did not have 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills. "I only have 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills." Yang Chong took out a jade bottle and said, "As long as you can defeat Zhao Wu, I will give these 2 medicinal pills to you." "Only 2. Ningyu pursed his lips and said reluctantly, "All right, 2 it is. Count it as my bad luck." "Zhao Wu, entertain Ningyu well," Yang Chong said coldly. Swish! As soon as Yang Chong's voice fell, Zhao Wu's feet stepped on the ground and his body suddenly rushed out. Zhao Wu's speed was very fast. In almost an instant, he arrived in front of Ningyu. A fist containing terrifying energy smashed ruthlessly toward Ningyu's head. Just by looking at this attack, how could Zhao Wu have any intention of sparring? He clearly wanted to kill Ningyu. Chapter 2543. Want to kill me? Looking at the incoming fist, Ningyu did not have any intention of dodging. From the beginning, he knew that Yang Chong had the intention to kill him. The reason why he took the initiative to challenge Zhao Wu was because he could tell that Zhao Wu was not an early-stage 4th-order quasi-emperor, but a mid-stage 4th-order quasi-emperor. Furthermore, he sensed a familiar aura from Zhao Wu's body. Very likely. Zhao Wu was a sky demon expert. He forced Zhao Wu to make a move. On one hand, he wanted to see Yang Chang's reaction. On the other hand, he wanted to test if Zhao Wu was a heavenly demon. Now, Zhao Wu's attack brought about a trace of aura, and he was almost certain that Zhao Wu was a sky demon. Since Zhao Wu was a sky demon, even if he killed Zhao Wu, there should be no problem. What is Ningyu doing? Scared silly? He should be. After all, Ningyu is only an early-stage third-order quasi-emperor, while Zhao Wu is an early-stage fourth-order quasi-emperor. The two of them are a whole level apart. Sai, the fifth prince is really something. Why is he watching his subordinate third-order quasi-emperor go to his death? Humph! Someone wants to die. How can the fifth prince stop him? Seeing that Ningyu did not have the slightest intention of stopping him, the surrounding martial artists began to discuss. He should be fine, right? Yang Yiming was slightly worried and asked Ao Xing next to him. What could possibly happen to him? Ao Xing rolled his eyes and said in a low voice, "You may not know Ningyu's true battle strength. I'll tell you this. When Ningyu was a peak second-stage fourth-order quasi-emperor, he could already contend with a fourth-order quasi-emperor. Now that he has advanced to a third-order quasi-emperor, his overall strength should be able to contend with a fourth-order quasi-emperor." So powerful? Yang Yiming was very surprised. How could his strength increase so much just by advancing one level? You'll know when you see. Ao Xing did not explain anything to Yang Yiming. Ningyu's true strength did not lie in his cultivation. Just by relying on his cultivation, he could at most contend with a mid-fourth-order quasi-emperor. However, with the great Tao of devouring and the divine war body, Ningyu was fearless even if he encountered a peak rank 4 quasi-emperor. That was to say, after advancing to rank 3 quasi-emperor, Ningyu's overall strength was no weaker than his and Ning Lu's. As for him and Ning Lu, they were both peak rank 3 quasi-emperors. Die. On the side, when Zhao Wu saw that Ningyu didn't dodge, his face lit up with ecstasy. He gathered all the energy in his body into his fist and punched at Ningyu's head. You want me to die? At this moment, Ningyu moved. Shio. It was fine if he didn't move, but once he did, it was shocking. Ningyu tore open the void with his hands and went straight in. He disappeared. Not good. The moment Ningyu disappeared, Zhao Wu realized something was wrong, because he didn't even see how Ningyu disappeared. Under such circumstances, it meant that Ningyu's attainments in space were no weaker than his. Block. In a panic, Zhao Wu hurriedly activated the armor on his body, wanting to block Ningyu's attack. Crack. Unfortunately, Ningyu quickly appeared behind him and stabbed out with the Red Fiend sword. The armor Zhao Wu wore was an Emperor-level armor. With his mid-fourth-order quasi-Emperor cultivation, he needed some time to fully activate it. Ningyu took advantage of the gap when he activated the armor to stab his sword into his back and out of his heart. Puffed. Bright red blood spurted from his mouth. The mid-fourth-order quasi-Emperor Zhao Wu died on the spot. Hiss. Ningyu killing Zhao Wu with one strike caused the surrounding cultivators to be slightly moved. All of them sucked in a breath of cold air. Killed a fourth-order quasi-emperor with one sword? One had to know that Ningyu was only an early fourth-order quasi-emperor. To kill a martial artist who was a major realm higher, no one could do it unless they were some absolute geniuses. Seeing Zhao Wu die, Yang Chang's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. Among the quasi-emperors who supported him, Zhao Wu's cultivation was the highest, and he was the strongest. Others might not know Zhao Wu's true cultivation, but he was very clear about it. A mid-fourth-order quasi-emperor, Zhao Wu was not an early fourth-order quasi-emperor on the surface, but a genuine mid-fourth-order quasi-emperor. Moreover, Zhao Wu still had some other trump cards. Now, Zhao was killed by Ningyu before he could even use his trump cards. Emperor-level armor, not bad. Ningyu went straight to Zhao Wu's corpse, reached out, pulled out the armor, and threw it into the Red Fiend sword. After devouring a lot of Emperor's spiritual liquid, the Red Fiend sword had also reached Emperor level. However, The red fiend sword was more inclined to devour magic treasures. Crack, crack, crack. The red fiend sword quickly devoured Zhao Wu's emperor-level armor. After devouring the emperor-level armor, the red fiend sword's grade increased slightly. Defective product. The red fiend sword sent a message to Ningyu. Zhao Wu's armor was not a genuine emperor-level armor, but a defective product. Among emperor-level armors, its defense was the weakest. 2 emperor-level medicinal pills. Hand them over. Ningyu kicked Zhao Wu to Yangchang and said indifferently, "Fourth Prince, I believe that you are willing to admit defeat and will not play any tricks. I am willing to admit defeat, but you publicly killed Zhao Wu. I think you should give the Divine Wind Empire an explanation." Yangchang threw the jade bottle in his hand to Ningyu and said fiercely, "Zhao Wu is a general of the Divine Wind Empire. You killed him, so you will not be able to escape today." Not be able to escape? Who's going to capture me? Ningyu said calmly. Originally, Ningyu did not want to expose the fact that Zhao Wu was a heavenly demon. However, if Yangchang provoked him again and again, he would definitely reveal Zhao Wu's identity to the public. At that time, it was still unknown whether Yangchang would be able to escape successfully. "Where are the law enforcers?" Yangchang said coldly. "Ningyu killed Great General Zhao Wu. Why haven't the members of the law enforcement palace come out and capture him?" Whoosh! Yangchang's voice fell. Several martial artists appeared in the surroundings. The cultivation of these martial artists was not particularly high, but they were all rank 3 quasi-emperors. Each of them had a token on their body. The words law enforcement officers were written on the token. The members of the law enforcement officers of the Divine Wind Empire were all experts. It was not difficult for them to challenge those of a higher cultivation level. Although the 4 law enforcement hall cultivators before him were early rank 3 quasi-emperors, they might not necessarily lose to a rank 4 quasi-emperor if they were to fight against one. Ha ha ha! Seeing the 4 law enforcement palace experts appear, Yangchang threw his head back and laughed maniacally. He said viciously, "Ningyu, you even dared to kill Great General Zhao Wu. I can see that you have already discussed this with Fifth Brother. I have reason to believe that you all have disloyal intentions. Come with us." Among the 4 law enforcement officers, a middle-aged man dressed in white said to Ningyu, "You are suspected of killing General Zhao Wu and need to be investigated. You really want to investigate me?" Chapter 25:44. The middle-aged man in white frowned, feeling that Ningyu was too arrogant. On the phone, He was a martial artist of the Divine Wind Empire's Law Enforcement Hall, an early-stage third-order martial artist, the backbone of the Divine Wind Empire. Ningyu dared to ask him to investigate General Zhao Wu and arrest Yangchang in front of so many people. Did he eat a bear's heart and a leopard's gall? Ha ha! Seeing Ningyu and the middle-aged man in white going against each other, Yangchang couldn't help but laugh wildly. He might be the 4th prince, but to be honest, he didn't have the guts to go against the law enforcement hall martial artist. Or rather, he didn't dare to do it. After all, the law enforcement hall represented the emperor, the entire Divine Wind Empire, not a single person. Ningyu, you might not know this, but the law enforcement hall represents the emperor. You openly disobeyed the law enforcement hall martial artist. Even if you have 10 lives, you are destined to die today. Yangchang's lips curled up as he looked at Ningyu and said, "Let me give you a piece of advice. If you know what's good for you, surrender as soon as possible. That way, you might be able to keep your corpse intact." "Is that so?" Ningyu chuckled and ignored Yangchang. His eyes fell on the middle-aged man in white and said indifferently, "As long as you investigate Zhao Wu, everything will be clear." The middle-aged man didn't say whether or not to investigate Zhao Wu. He stood where he was, and his eyes shone brightly. No one knew what he was doing. No need to investigate. The fight for the position of crown prince is about to begin. The emperor doesn't want anything to go wrong. The middle-aged man waved his right hand, and a gust of wind swept Zhao Wu away. Subsequently, the middle-aged man in white and the remaining 3 law enforcement hall martial artists disappeared together. How is this possible? A long time after the middle-aged man in white disappeared, Yang Chong finally reacted. To be honest, he didn't expect this result. He really couldn't figure out. Why did the middle-aged man in white want to protect Ningyu? That's right, protect. In his opinion, as a martial artist of the Tribunal Council, the white-robed middle-aged man could easily apprehend Ningyu and execute him on the spot. However, the white-robed middle-aged man did not do that. He casually took Zhao Wu away and did not even say a word. This made Yang Chong a little suspicious. Not only Yang Chong, even Yang Zhaokai and the others were a little confused. Those who did not know would think that the God Monarch was secretly supporting Yang Yumming. The Divine Wind Empire's sovereign emperor should have known long ago. Ningyu stopped underestimating him. In fact, the emperor of the Divine Wind Empire had always been hiding in the void. If it weren't for Ao Xing and Ning Lu's help, Ningyu wouldn't have been able to find the emperor's whereabouts. Since the Empyrean Lord was in the void, offending Yang Chong was the limit. Ningyu had no doubt that if he offended Yang Shui again, he would not be able to escape today. Whoosh! Just as he was thinking, suddenly, a figure tore through the void and appeared in front of everyone. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Upon seeing the newcomer, the many cultivators in front of the Crown Prince's hall bowed and greeted him respectfully. The newcomer was none other than the Divine Wind Empire's Sovereign Emperor, high-grade quasi-emperor. Based on the Sovereign Emperor's aura, Ningyu judged that he should be a high-grade quasi-emperor. As for whether he was a rank 7, rank 8, or rank 9, Ningyu did not know. After all, at the level of a high-grade quasi-emperor, if they wanted to deliberately hide their aura, ordinary cultivators would not be able to discover them. I'll cut to the chase. I have made a small change to the rules of the fight for the position of Crown Prince. The Sovereign Emperor's gaze swept across the crowd, and he said, "All the princes vying for the position of Crown Prince will enter the inner hall of the Crown Prince's hall and engage in a chaotic battle. The 3 princes left standing will enter the second round. As for the advisors of the princes, they will engage in a chaotic battle in the outer hall of the Crown Prince's hall. The final 3 advisors will enter the second round. The rules are actually very simple. Be it the princes or advisors, as long as they can enter the top 3, the advisors and the princes can bask in the glory and enter the second round. I will tell you the rules of the second round at that time." Whoosh! The moment the Sovereign Emperor spoke, the Sovereign Emperor tore through space and entered. Not long after he entered, the Sovereign Emperor's voice rang out again. "Oh, by the way, only 1 advisor can participate in the battle. The rest will wait outside the Crown Prince's hall." The Sovereign Emperor's words caused the expressions of the princes who were hoping for a fluke to turn somewhat unsightly. These princes were not very strong. They had not even reached quasi-emperor. However, their advisors were very strong. If a few more advisors could enter the second round, they might be able to enter the second round. Now that the Sovereign Emperor had cut off their hopes of entering the second round, some princes did not even enter the Crown Prince's hall and chose to give up. One had to know. The Sovereign Emperor did not say that they could kill them. What if they met a few ruthless characters in the inner hall and got killed? Who could they reason with then? It was better to be safe than sorry. "Ningyu, just you wait and see." Yang Chong glared at Ningyu and entered the inner hall of the Crown Prince's hall without looking back. At this moment, Yang Chong was extremely furious. His advisor, Zhao Wu, had already been killed, leaving only Wang He, who was a peak 3rd-rank quasi-emperor. It would be harder than ascending to heaven for Wang He to enter the top 3. Therefore, he could only stand out among the princes. Otherwise, he would not even be able to enter the second round. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yang Chong was the first to enter the Crown Prince's hall. The other princes leaped up and entered the hall one after another. After all the princes entered the hall, the remaining advisors quickly moved toward the Crown Prince's hall. Ningyu roughly scanned them. He discovered that these advisors were very powerful. Qin He, the advisor of the 18th Prince Yang Zhaokai, looked like a mid-4th rank quasi-emperor but was actually a peak 4th rank quasi-emperor. Zhou Su, the advisor of the 13th Prince Yang Qinghao, was a late 4th rank quasi-emperor. Tang Hong, the advisor of the 9th Prince Yang Shui, was a late 4th rank quasi-emperor. Wang He, the advisor of the 4th Prince Yang Chong, was a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor. Among the remaining advisors, there was an old man in gray who attracted Ningyu's attention. As he expected, this gray-robed old man's cultivation should be around half-step 5th rank quasi-emperor, slightly stronger than Qin He. Ningyu became cautious. In a one-on-one fight, the gray-robed old man might not be able to gain the upper hand. However, he was afraid that the gray-robed old man would join forces with the others to deal with him. Ningyu was not arrogant enough to think that he could fight against many people at once. Furthermore, they were all rank 4th rank quasi-emperors. Whoosh! He did not think too much about it. Ningyu leaped up and entered the outer hall of the Crown Prince's Hall. The fight in the outer hall looked rather ferocious, but in reality, no one took the initiative to attack. After everyone entered the outer hall, they stood where they were and closed their eyes to rest. Everyone knew that, as long as they made the first move, they would definitely be surrounded by the others. Rather than that, they might as well play dead and watch the others fight. Perhaps both sides would end up heavily injured, and they would be able to advance easily without even needing to make a move. This book came from Chapter 2545. Drip, drip. Time passed by slowly. After a full 10 minutes, a rank 4 quasi-emperor opened his eyes and said indifferently, "Everyone, don't just stand here. In my opinion, everyone below rank 4 quasi-emperor should leave, lest the innocent get hurt." Whoosh! The moment the rank 4 quasi-emperor spoke, the low-rank quasi-emperors who wanted to fish in troubled waters all had unsightly expressions. No matter how unwilling they were, they could only grimace. A rank 4 quasi-emperor's words were crude, but they were not. If these low-rank quasi-emperors stayed behind, they would not even be able to withstand the shock waves of a mid-rank quasi-emperor fight. What do you mean by this? The rank 4 quasi-emperor who spoke was the 9th prince's aide, Tang Hong. He looked at the 4 rank 3 quasi-emperors and frowned slightly. I already said that rank 3 quasi-emperors might be killed if they stay behind. The 4 rank 3 quasi-emperors remained. Ningyu did not count. After all, Tang Hong knew Ningyu's strength. He subconsciously treated Ningyu as a rank 4 quasi-emperor. Of the 4 rank 3 quasi-emperors, one was Wang He, one was an old woman with a walking stick, one was a middle-aged man wearing a conical bamboo hat, and the last was a crippled old man. Boom! Boom! The old woman and the conical bamboo hat man casually glanced at Tang Hong before unleashing their auras and soaring into the sky. Late rank 4 quasi-emperors. Tang Hong's expression changed slightly. He had misjudged them. Both the old woman and the conical bamboo hat man were late rank 4 quasi-emperors, the same as him. You pass. You can stay. Tang Hong shifted his gaze to the crippled old man and asked, "What about you? What's your cultivation?" The crippled old man was still resting with his eyes closed and did not answer Tang Hong's question. Humph! Tang Hong's expression changed. There were indeed not many cultivators who dared to openly oppose him here. Go! After a cold snort, Tang Hong decided to test the crippled old man's strength. If the crippled old man was strong, he could consider keeping him. If he was weak, then he could not blame him. He flicked his wrist. A cold light instantly shot out, heading straight for the crippled old man. Bang! The lame old man did not look at the cold light. However, when the cold light was 1 meter away from his body, it automatically stopped. Half-step rank 5 quasi-emperor. Tang Hong's expression turned extremely ugly. The lame old man was a half-step rank 5 quasi-emperor. He was only a step away from becoming a rank 5 quasi-emperor. This level of strength was not something he could contend with. We must join forces to drive him out first. Tang Hong's eyes turned as he thought of a countermeasure. At this time, there were not many warriors left in the outer hall. Including him, there were only 9 martial artists. The gray-robed old man and the lame old man were both half-step rank 5 quasi-emperors. Qin he concealed his cultivation to be at the peak of the 4th rank. Zhou Su, the man in the conical bamboo hat, and the old woman with the walking stick were all late-stage 4th rank quasi-emperors. Ning Yu was an early-stage 3rd order quasi-emperor. Wang He was a peak 3rd order quasi-emperor, and he himself was a late-stage 4th order quasi-emperor. Among the 9 martial artists, Wang He would definitely be eliminated. As long as the gray-robed old man and the lame old man did not fight among themselves, they would also obtain 2 spots. Based on this, wouldn't it be very difficult for him to obtain the last spot? Ningyu, why don't we join forces and drive these 2 half-step rank 5 quasi-emperors out first? Tang Hong gritted his teeth and began to send a soul transmission to Ningyu. Not only that, while Tang Hong was contacting Ningyu, he was also contacting Qin, Zhou Su, the man in the conical bamboo hat, and the old woman with the walking stick. Only by joining forces with many people would they be absolutely safe. Otherwise, there was a high chance that he would be eliminated. I don't care. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders, indicating that it did not matter whether he participated or not. From Ningyu's point of view, unless Tang Hong and the rest had trump cards, even if they joined forces, they would not be a match for 2 half-step rank 5 quasi-emperors. The gray-robed old man and the lame old man were also partly responsible for Ningyu not agreeing to Tang Hong's request immediately. Just now, while Tang Hong was contacting Ningyu, the gray-robed old man and the lame old man were also contacting Ningyu. In other words, the gray-robed old man also contacted Qin, he, and the rest. In short, the 9 of them each had their own ulterior motives. None of them were willing to be the first to make a move. Ningyu, I want to challenge you. This situation continued for a period of time. In the end, it was broken by Wang He. Wang He took a step forward and pointed a finger at Ningyu, saying fiercely, "You killed General Zhao Wu. I want to have a death match with you." A death match? Ningyu was slightly surprised. Was Wang He's brain rusty? He was just a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor. How dare he challenge him? Furthermore, it was a death match? Even someone as strong as Zhao Wu was easily killed by him, let alone Wang He. Unless Wang He's brain rusted or he lost his mind. Something's not right. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something and started to be secretly vigilant in his heart. Wang He dared to have a death match with him. It was very likely that it was arranged by the gray-robed old man and the lame old man. Otherwise, with Wang He's cultivation and strength alone, he would not dare to take the initiative to challenge him. The more he thought about it, the more Ningyu felt that it was possible. However, Ningyu did not expose it easily. He looked at Wang He coldly and said in a deep voice, "Can any Tom, Dick, or Harry challenge me? If you want to challenge me, sure. Take out 2 Emperor-grade medicinal pills first. If you don't have medicinal pills, you'd better get lost as soon as possible. Here are the medicinal pills." Wang He's reaction was out of Ningyu's expectations. Wang He casually threw a jade bottle to Ningyu and said, "There are 2 Emperor-grade medicinal pills inside. Can you spar with me now?" "Ha!" Ningyu received the medicinal pills, his expression a little dumbfounded. When did Wang He become so rich and overbearing? Those were 2 Emperor-grade medicinal pills. Even Yang Chong could not take them out easily. Who exactly was Wang He? Why did he take out 2 Emperor-grade medicinal pills without even furrowing his brows? Is it worth it to do this? On the other side, the gray-robed old man frowned slightly and lowered his voice to transmit his voice to the lame old man. If Wang He is killed by Ningyu, our Emperor-grade medicinal pills will be wasted. Just 1 Emperor-grade medicinal pill. Don't tell me you can't afford it. The lame old man said indifferently. Expending an Emperor-grade medicinal pill to test Ningyu's true strength is completely worth it. All right, the gray-robed old man nodded and said. Ningyu's guess was right. The reason why Wang He attacked him was entirely because he was bewitched by the lame old man and the gray-robed old man. In order to test Ningyu's true combat strength, The lame old man and the gray-robed old man even lent Wang He a scroll. That scroll was not a one-time use item, but a multi-use item. After activating the scroll, it could easily contend against a peak rank 4 quasi-emperor. The scroll's energy was exhausted. As long as a large amount of energy was injected, the scroll could be used a second time. Using a total of 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills and a scroll, if they could test Ning Yu's true strength, it was completely worth it. This book came from You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.